Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the world's famous Mike Graham show. It's coming up to just after 7 o'clock. Elliot Keck was about to launch the show there. As you see, he's sitting there amongst the herons. The coup, indeed, from the Taxpayers Alliance. We've got so much to talk about this morning. It is, of course, Thursday, the 12th of March, the day after Prime Minister's questions. And it was so bad this week, right, that the Speaker of the House, Lindsay Hall, had to actually tell the Prime Minister to sit down and stop asking questions and start answering them. You know, we've got an idea here, which we're going to explore at some point over the course of the next few weeks and months, which is to do a show called Prime Minister's Answers, where you actually get to answer the question rather than actually wonder what he thinks about anything. Because at the moment, he doesn't answer anything. The big story on the front page this morning is all about Peter Mandelson. Front page of The Sun, warning over Epstein was ignored. Keir Starmer knew Mandelson was a risk. The axed peer got a £75,000 payoff, even though he wasn't really deserving of it, and he shouldn't really have been given any money at all. For Pete's sake, PM, it says on the front pages. The Prime Minister flouted Mandelson warnings on the front page of The Times. Aid and outgoing ambassador raised concerns, according to the Epstein files that were released yesterday. A memo told Starmer that personal links left him more exposed. In his words, not fit to lead the country, is what it says on the front page of the Daily Mail. And they're talking about the Prime Minister, once again, who seems to be clinging on. I said to Elliot, I went for a nap yesterday afternoon after I'd finished doing a various bunch of different things and thought around about sort of 3-4 o'clock, before I went out in the evening to meet Donald McLeod, who's going to be on the show later on. And I thought, when I wake up, Keir Starmer's going to be gone. Because these scandals are now piling up at such a rate that surely he cannot withstand them. But he seems to be able to do so. Keir Starmer facing fresh questions about his judgment last night after handing Peter Mandelson a payoff worth double what he was entitled to. Right? And there's our money we're talking about here, £75,000 of our money, of your money, of my money, money that we have paid taxes for in order so that the government can actually do things which we want them to do. But no, what they do is they've given money to a man who should never have been given an ambassadorial job in the first place. It's absolutely and utterly extraordinary. According to the Telegraph, Starmer ignored top aides over the Mandelson appointment. Prime Minister told of reputational damage in The Guardian, and Starmer ignored Epstein warnings, page 1 of the I newspaper. It's absolutely incredible what's going on here. Elliot, very good morning to you. Nice to see you. Can you believe that this guy, I mean, he's like a limpet, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, he's on a rock. He's holding on like this. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. I wonder whether people are saying to him, just sit it out. You know, you've been through this, you know, you've been through the Shagos Island scandal, you've been through Lord Ali at the beginning. Well, when I say you've been through Lord Ali, obviously you have to be careful how you say that. You know, he's had all six, I mean, literally every month there's been one scandal after another. And yet here he is, he's still sitting there. I'm the Prime Minister, I'm not going anywhere because I was elected to change Britain. No, you bloody well weren't. I mean, what's it going to take?
It's a bit like Rasputin, isn't he? He's been poisoned, shot, beaten up, and yet he's still just about clinging on.
Yeah, right.
And I think it's very clear that he has his challenges, he has his contenders, there are his rivals, Streeting, Rayner and all the rest of them. But none of them want to be responsible for what's going to happen in May, right? So in May, Labour are going to lose control of the Welsh Government for the first time since the Welsh Government was established. Bearing in mind that the Welsh Government was basically set up by Blair because he thought if we set this up, Labour will control part of the UK forever, right? And it will never change. And they're about to lose that.
They thought the same in Scotland as well,
thought the same in Scotland. They're going to take pretty crippling losses there. They're going to see serious losses in London. So it's going to be a miserable night. And I think all of his leadership rivals have suddenly thought, let's let him take those further bullets and hope that he goes of his own accord. But you're right, he is a bit of a survivor, isn't he? He does sort of cling on despite everything. And yesterday we saw further scandals, further revelations. I mean, most of it we sort of already knew the outline. We knew that he'd made an appalling error of judgment. Or say error, I mean, he knew what he was doing, let's be honest, but he thought it was worth it. We just sort of had the details filled in.
I wonder about the whole Mandelson thing, whether he just did it because Morgan Sweeney, who was his kind of, handler, if you like, at the time, the Chief of Staff, who's now no longer in Downing Street, thanks to his incredible lack of judgment as well. You wonder whether he just did it because Morgan McSweeney said he should do it, or whether he actually, in his own head, thought, oh, Peter Mandelson's a great idea. This argument that they used sort of after the fact that, well, we had to put somebody like Mandelson into Washington because he knew how to operate Donald Trump. He knew how to kind of, deal with Donald Trump because he's also a slippery, horrible, ghastly individual who might have known Jeffrey Epstein. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think they were definitely all completely entranced by Mandelson, and they all thought, they were all from that world where they just thought that New Labour project, that 1997 victory was just the most wonderful thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I really think that they bought Mandelson's snake oil.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like some of these sorts of great singers from the sort of 1960s and 70s that were brilliant then, but actually you go and hear them live now, and it's like, well, you're well past it.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure Mandelson ever really had it. Clearly he was a good political operator, but he certainly was long past it.
I think there's no question that when he kind of emerged on the scene in the 90s, he was talking a language that nobody'd really heard anybody talking before. And I knew him then. And I've told this story before, that I came across him in the office of the editor of the Sunday People back in about sort of very early 90s, before the New Labour project sort of properly got underway, when he still had a moustache and he was still, talking like an ordinary person, and he wasn't suddenly talking like this and being very, very posh. And clearly he was bringing something to politics which British politics didn't have. Yeah. But as you say, quite rightly, after a while that all kind of becomes less attractive because you don't need it anymore because everybody's doing it. Why do you need Peter Mandelson now? Because there are so many Peter Mandelson imitations who are a lot younger and a lot more perhaps palatable. Yeah, but that's right. But obviously Peter Mandelson continued to believe in his own hype, and the people around Starmer and Morgan McSweeney very much did as well. So. I really think they were so starstruck by him. They thought he was so brilliant that, when very, very serious problems around his incredibly close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein emerged, they weren't able to process it. But just looking at the facts from yesterday when they were read out, and we've got a few clips, I think, Pooch, that we can play. I don't know where we start actually, but how about? Should we start with number one? Yeah. Starmer knew about all of the information that was in the Epstein files. Have a look.
A lot of the controversy is whether or not Keir Starmer knew, which we think he did, that Peter Mandelson maintained a close relationship after Jeffrey Epstein's conviction for sex trafficking. So look at the next bit. After Epstein was first convicted of procuring an underage girl in 2008, their relationship continued, across this, 2009 to 2011, beginning when Lord Mandelson was business minister and continuing after the end of the Labour government. Mandelson reportedly stayed in Epstein's house while he was in jail in 2009. There you have it. There you have it. In black and white, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, warned in the clearest possible terms that Peter Mandelson maintained his relationship after the conviction, and that relationship was close. He was accepting, there were reports that he was accepting hospitality. There is no escape from this. Keir Starmer knew a lot at the point in December 2024 when he appointed Peter Mandelson.
And that's the report from yesterday afternoon. Yeah. And what we don't have, and what we could have it, but we may not get it before the end of the show. Starmer said, Peter Mandelson lied to me. I was saying to Pooch earlier, it's a bit like Jeffrey Dahmer coming up to you and going, I'm sorry I murdered that guy. I'm a serial killer. And you went, I didn't think you were going to kill anyone. Yeah. Well, no, that's what I do. Mandelson lies. Of course he does. Yeah. And the whole point about Keir Starmer is that he's meant to be this kind of forensic. Do you remember that word, forensic?
Yes, incredible.
Before they started saying things like laser focused on, fixing the economy, they used to say things like Keir Starmer's very forensic, very, very, very good at, like chopping and changing and making sure that he gets to the heart of the matter, and he completely strips away all the nonsense around any story, and he gets to the heart of it. Well, he was meant to be the chief prosecutor of this country, the head of the Crown Prosecution Service, and he would appear to have less knowledge of the real world than a 5-year-old child.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, it's like, Jeffrey Dahmer said that he only killed 7 people. If I'd known, he'd killed 10 people, I wouldn't have appointed him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he lied to me. He told me he never killed anyone. Yeah. In fact, even though he's in prison for killing people.
It is quite shocking. And, I mean, it's particularly damaging to Starmer because, as you said, it completely trashes his reputation. The one thing that some people, people did vote for the Labour government, right? I mean, not on as large numbers as the Labour government likes to act that they did, but they did vote for them. And clearly, part of the appeal of Starmer was this sense that, you know, he was serious about the detail,
Right.
And he tried to get to grips with it. But that
But
reputation's
also
been
that he was
demolished
he
now.
was going to be transparent.
He was going to be
He was going to
transparent.
bring honesty back to government.
Yeah.
He was going to get rid of cronyism. He was going
And
to
that's
he was
gone
going to
now.
get rid of the corruption.
Yeah.
He was going to get rid of service to outside individuals. All of that was complete and utter gobbledygook.
Yeah, because it's all
codswallop.
just an old boys club
Yeah.
where they're appointing their mates, even if their mates are
Right.
good friends with convicted paedophiles.
Well, we've never got to the bottom, and I mean, funnily enough, we've got. I keep making these references. It's a entirely Freudian slip. What is Starmer's biggest shame? That's the poll we've got going today, which is 4 choices: Chagos Islands, number 1, Lord Ali, number 2, the Southport riots and his reaction to them, number 3, and Mandelson, number 4. And a lot of people saying the Southport riots, 43% is Keir Starmer's biggest shame, because people do feel that he completely messed that up, and he was so disrespectful to the victims and the families of those victims and the people of Southport. And all he wanted to do was to bang on about how the far right must be locked up. The thugs, it's all down to them. Nothing to do with the guy who actually killed the little girls. But this is the problem. You know, this guy has completely trashed not only his own reputation, but the reputation of politics, the reputation of government, the reputation of the Labour Party. And people are just going, how much worse can it get? And how can he possibly continue? And I know, I take your point about the elections in May, but how can he possibly, even in his own mind, wake up every morning, walk downstairs, get into his, the Winston Churchill pyjamas or whatever it is, and sit there and think that he's actually doing a good job? Because he can't do that, surely.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's just he has that hunger for power now. But it's so interesting, isn't it? The Southport riots were there because that was one of the first events of his premiership,
Yeah.
and often, the early events, they sort of fade with time,
Yes.
and that one very much hasn't. That is
No.
still fresh in the memory
Very
because
much.
their first memory of Starmer was basically him insulting the British public and the British electorate and the British people that voted for him. And it is so interesting how long that legacy has remained.
It's got a long tail.
He
Well,
has
because people remember
yeah.
the fact that he went there and he was there for 17 seconds, I think it
Yeah.
was.
whisked
Putting down,
away.
Yeah, and he was whisked away. He didn't speak to anybody. He didn't answer the people who were shouting at him. Prime Minister, talk to us, talk to the people. He didn't spend. I mean, he then, I think, totally illustrated what his problem is in life, which is that he can't sympathise or empathise with ordinary people.
No.
He's like an automaton, isn't he?
Yeah. He is just a walking, talking robot, but a robot that can't even do the basics of what he's there to do. And as we said, on this point about he is supposed to be forensic, he's supposed to be a details man, he's supposed to have this legal background, and yet that one skill set that he claimed to be bringing to the job, as well as these points about his moral probity and all the rest of it.
Yes.
It's clear that it was all a lie. It's clear that it was all just a facade designed in order to win an election. And now that he's won the election, it's he's happy to run it as toxic and chummy of a way as the Boris government ever.
Far worse
adopted.
than Boris.
I think that's probably right.
Because
probably
at least
worse than
with Boris, people kind of knew what they were voting for. They were voting for this sort of slightly
There was a sort of honesty to it.
eccentric, bumbling kind of fool, which he isn't, by the way. Because that's a bit of a construct. But at least they saw what they were going to get, and they weren't that surprised. I think most people when it all kind of went a bit wrong. Whereas with him, he was so sanctimonious, wasn't he? During the campaign, he was so. I mean,
he had Rayner calling people Tory scum.
Yeah.
Right. And then she immediately became part of a government, where she was having everything paid for by a Labour donor. Right. She was trying to dodge tax.
Still hasn't paid her tax bill, by the way. I mean, I still find that staggering. That I said this to somebody the other day. Can you imagine if you or I owed the tax man anything like 40,000 quid?
I think they're working out the fine she might have to pay. I think that's where the issue is.
Yeah, but I've only ever had a few dealings with the HMRC organisation in the last sort of 45 years I've been paying tax. And they don't tend to take very long. Yeah. If they're going to fine you, they go, here's your fine, you better pay it, otherwise it's going to actually accrue interest and you're going to be paying more of a fine. I've never had a situation where they've gone, I'll tell you what, we'll tell you in a few months what you might have to pay us. That's not how they work. Yeah. But that's how they work with Angela Rayner, apparently.
Yeah, and she needs to hurry up, right? Because, I mean, when May comes along and it's crippling losses for Labour, if there is that leadership challenge, she's going to want to be in place for it. I mean, God help
Yeah.
us if she's the one that ends up
Oh my
holding
God.
the
Can you
holding
imagine?
the crown at the end of it.
Well, I
That's
suppose
gonna be a
rather her
nightmare.
than bloody Ed Miliband, but that's another story. But let's talk about some of the stuff on the inside of the papers, right? £75,000, but why did he get anything? Is what it says on the inside pages of the Daily Mail, pages 6 and 7. Time to come clean on what you're hiding. The public need to know. This is after 147 pages of 100,000 records were released yesterday, and this is a question that's being put by a Tory MP. Mandelson, again, has an awful lot of questions to answer. And yes, he's under investigation. Yes, he was arrested. It may well be that he gets charged with something or other. But it's inconceivable, isn't it, that the Labour government, and Keir Starmer in particular, didn't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, and £75,000, but he asked for about £500,000 quid, I think, didn't he? It's absolutely extraordinary. He asked for his whole contract to be bought out, and in the end he's got £75,000. I'm not entirely sure he should have got anything. He was only there for 7 months. But listen, I mean, what Mandelson and his lawyers would have said to the government, they would have said, well, you're sacking me because of Epstein. But they clearly knew about all of this stuff when they sacked him, when they hired him, right? So it's very, very difficult for the government. They were in an extreme difficult position. It was ultimately the failure came from Keir Starmer, it came from Number 10.
Yeah.
They knew everything that they needed to know about Mandelson and his relationship with Epstein. They appointed him, and then they sacked him for that very exact same reason.
But
so
again,
that's
and I
where
haven't got
that
the
cost came
exact
from.
clip in front of me, but I'm pretty sure Keir Starmer got up and stood in the House of Commons and said that Peter Mandelson lied to him about the depth of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, when these papers clearly show that not only was the depth of his relationship very clear, but Starmer knew about it.
Yeah, and he had senior advisors
So he's lied in Parliament, has he not? As best we can say, about what he knew and when he knew it.
Yeah, and he did actually have senior advisors, people like Jonathan Powell, Philip Barton, senior advisors to him, say that this process is mad. You need to slow down.
Yeah.
But as we said, Keir Starmer and Morgan McSweeney were starstruck by Mandelson and wanted him in at any price. And that price has now come, and it's £75,000 for the British taxpayer.
Yeah, and the other sort of question that comes up as well is that they were slightly frightened of Peter Mandelson in the sense that he knows a lot of stuff about people because that's his kind of currency, isn't it? That he collects, sort of what you might regard as damaging information, kompromat, as they would call it in Russia. And so they were kind of, do you think there's a possibility that he was given the appointment because they were worried if they didn't give it to him, that he would start leaking all sorts of horrible stuff into the papers?
I certainly think that's why he will have got the payout at the very, very least, because I think that they thought if we don't give him this money, he's going to go yapping to everybody.
Right.
I'm always never quite convinced that these people that claim to know everything about everyone really know that much.
Right.
I think often that, that it's a bit of a veneer, a bit of a facade to try and scare people. But clearly, people are terrified of him. You hear from journalists all the time that, when they used to want to write negative stories about him, their editors would get a pretty stern phone call. So clearly he does have this aura.
And I can attest to that because I know that that's happened, and I know people it's happened to. But nevertheless, where's the bloody backbone for any of these people? Why are you worried about some old gay queen who's going to go, I'm going to tell them all about what you did to me once in the laundry? Who cares? Just call his bluff and say, look, mate, sorry, you're a disgusting, disgraceful individual, and in fact, we're going to out you for what we know about you, never mind what you know about us.
Yeah, and given his background, there's clearly lots of scandals and there's still more skeletons in his closet, aren't there?
Absolutely. He's got a couple of young Brazilians in his closet, I think. That's another story. But anyway, lots more to do. Let's get some super chats. I think we've got a few coming in, Pooch, if we may. LTL says, morning, Mike. Happy Thursday. Thank you very much indeed. I've seen one clip, one comment, by the way, saying, my hair looks even worse today than it did yesterday. Which is a bit harsh. And we're trying to get it sorted, right? Somebody's going to come and cut it for me. But it'll be towards the end of the month, we think. It's going to be Dan. He's going to come down from Oldham to do it. I think a week tomorrow, 2 weeks tomorrow, something like that. Thanks. Simon, super chat, thank you very much indeed. As ever, Richard Jones says, Mike, I have a feeling the hardest working individuals in the country right now are Angela Rayner's accountants. You may well be right. Again, how on earth is it possible? Can you imagine if you had a dispute with HMRC that it would drag on for sort of months and months and months and months, and they wouldn't start sending you demands to say, if you don't pay this, not only are we going to come and take your car, but we're going to charge you interest over the course of the week. Starmer probably gave Mandy the job while drunk in the men-only specialist club they are both members of, says Arthur. Well, I can't possibly comment on that. That's another story that we'll never get one. Massey says this: after he gets shackled in May, he won't go. He believes he is the man to usher in this totalitarian agenda. He knows he's despised. He doesn't care, says Massey. Yeah, interesting. I can't believe that Mandelson has sort of had this deleterious effect on the country for the course of the last kind of year. It's about a year and a half, isn't it?
Yeah,
Since he's been associated with them. And when you think now to the relationship with America and how bad it is, Mandelson will probably say, if you asked him, oh, that's because I'm not in Washington. If I was in Washington, it would all be fine.
But again, it's all nonsense, isn't it? I mean, we know that the previous ambassador to the United States, Karen Pierce, we knew that she'd actually gotten in with the Trump administration. She spent months and months and months cultivating
and they
contacts.
quite liked her, didn't they?
Apparently, they really liked her. Apparently, you know, she had really, really good relationships with quite a lot of people, very senior people in the Trump administration. But as we said, you know, the Starmer regime, it clearly is a bit of an old boys club, isn't it? It's clearly very, very chummy. Yeah. Despite the fact that they had this ambassador that had actually worked for months and months and months to cultivate relationships with the Trump administration, the incoming Trump administration. Something many diplomats failed to do, right? Because so many diplomats were just desperate for Kamala Harris to win. Yeah. And so they just pretended, okay, Trump's not really going to happen. Kamala's going to win. It's all going to be fine. So many diplomats actually failed to cultivate those relationships. Karen Pierce did a really, really good job developing those contacts. And then the second, you know, Starmer gets in and gets his paws all over the role, he's bringing in he's bringing in his old chum, Morgan McSweeney's old chum, Peter Mandelson. So I think that's a complete nonsense. I mean, you know, maybe Mandelson did get along with Trump and the Trump administration, but we already had an ambassador that was doing a pretty good job. Yeah. I think we have to remember that. Yeah.
And also, there's no particular evidence, is there, that whatever Mandelson did while he was ambassador made a massive difference to our relationship with America?
Yeah, he had a couple
because
of slick
he literally had no effect on the tariffs. Yeah. He had no kind of, you know, sway, it would seem to me, when the steel tariff was put on, when the tariff on cars was put on. You know, it didn't appear to ameliorate anything that Trump decided to do. So Trump didn't really care who was ambassador. He would get on with whoever it was because that's what he does.
Yeah, and you know, listen, most of the contacts that the ambassador will have with the White House will not be with the president. You know, it will be with senior staff to the president. Yeah. It might be to the Secretary of State. His primary relationship is not going to be. He's not going to be on the phone with the president every single night. I'm sure Peter Mandelson put on a number of good parties at the British Embassy.
I'm sure he did. It's a very nice building. It's very nice. I've been there. It's a lovely place.
So I'm sure he did a good job spending taxpayers' money on lavish parties.
Or they put me in there, you've probably done the same.
I think you'd be a fantastic ambassador.
I don't think it would have been. You know, Mandelson didn't do any better than anybody else would have done. Yeah. Because when you are the British ambassador to the United States of America, it's obviously a very prestigious role.
Yeah.
So
you just need to know how to drink champagne and shake hands. Right? Yeah, and drink English sparkling wine, as it were.
And try not to get caught in a cupboard with anyone. Yeah. You know, which obviously is bad news for some people. Let's have a look at a couple of other clips. We've got Jeremy Corbyn today, actually, who looks like one of the most sensible people in politics now, which is bizarre in itself. Have a look at what he had to say.
I find this faux outrage about Mandelson really astonishing. He was a man that was closely involved with the current Prime Minister, the leadership of the Labour Party, ever since Tony Blair, and very closely since 2020. They must have known his character. They must have known what he was like. In the documents that the government is now producing, will we know every piece of advice that was given to the Prime Minister by his officials and by the Foreign Office, and specifically, will there be a record of any verbal briefings given to the Prime Minister before he made this calamitous decision to send Mandelson to Washington? I think the public need to know why the Prime Minister, despite all the knowledge about Mandelson, felt the need to go ahead with this appointment.
To answer the right honourable gentleman's question, the tranche of documents today that relate to the appointment and then the dismissal of Peter Mandelson as ambassador are inclusive of all of the documents held by government, bar those which have been held back by the Metropolitan Police for their criminal investigation. There are no other further documents that have not been published.
Two things to say about that. One, Jeremy Corbyn's jacket's a bit big for him. Secondly, he's wearing his Palestinian badge on it, which I suppose you'd expect. But he makes a good point. You know, how on earth is it possible that knowing all the things that they knew, which has now become apparent, was he anywhere near getting that job? I mean, it's just extraordinary. A couple of comments there. Sorry, just about to read that one, Pooch. I can't understand why the press aren't demanding Starmer's resignation. Boris was hounded out for much less. There is a scandal every day now. I couldn't agree with you more. But, you know, let's look at the front page of the Daily Mail. It does say not fit to lead the country, right? So, I mean, you'd have to say that that is a pretty a bold statement for a newspaper to make. They're basically saying that Keir Starmer, because of the Mandelson papers, is not fit to be Prime Minister. Downing Street agreed a special severance package worth £75,000 for the disgraced Labour grandee after he was sacked over his friendship with paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. The amount was almost twice what Mandelson was contractually entitled to, but Whitehall sources said it was far less than the $547,000 he was demanding for a departure his lawyer said had permanently damaged his employability. Well, actually, it's not the fact that you've been fined by the government that's damaged your credibility. It's the fact that you were friends with a paedophile financier called Jeffrey Epstein, even after he was convicted of being a paedophile. And I think the bottom line here is, as you were saying earlier, Elliot, the government paid him off because they didn't want him going to the press and talking about stuff that they didn't want him to talk about. Yeah. Whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's incredible, isn't it, that he asked for the full £500,000. But yeah, I mean, listen, this was a mess of the government's own making. They appointed him despite the Jeffrey Epstein links and despite knowing it. And we know from the documents yesterday that they knew everything they needed to know. Yeah. And then they sacked him for those exact same links. So I can imagine, you know, the lawyers sitting there in that room with the Foreign Office. And they're saying, oh, well, we had to fire Peter Mandelson. It was a legitimate sacking because of his links with Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. And his lawyers would have shot back, but you knew about this when you appointed him.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry, but you're going to have to pay up. Yeah. So, yeah, listen.
And I think that's a really important point. Yeah. That you're the only person I've heard making it, and I think you're absolutely right, that clearly in an employment tribunal, the government would lose the case. Because
they'd certainly be in trouble, yeah.
Because the lawyers will say, yeah, but you knew all this. Yeah. So how can you fire him and go, we've only just found out that apparently you were some kind of scumbag who knew Jeffrey Epstein. He went, yeah, but you knew that. Yeah.
That's sort of why you hired him. Yes. They hired him. Right. They hired him because he was a bit of a scumbag. Yeah. And he had the same sort of connections and he liked, you know, spending time with, rubbing shoulders with the rich and the wealthy and the powerful. Yeah. That's why they hired him. Totally. And it's also why they sacked him. So, listen, I don't know what would have happened in an employment tribunal, but I don't think it would have been an open and shut case with the government. I think they could have been in trouble. Yeah. And so I can sort of see a very perverse logic to why they thought, well, it could be worse. And I think this is, you know, why when we talk about the taxpayers' money, that it's been wasted. You know, let's be honest, this is a waste. This is terrible use of taxpayers' money. Yeah. The fault lies at the Prime Minister's desk and not at the Foreign Office officials that agreed this deal.
I know this is not a fashionable question to ask, but who's the ambassador at Washington now? Is there one? I don't think there is there?
I think the appointment. I think we made an appointment a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
But
see, I'm not sure that we did. I'm sure that somebody brighter than us will Google it and go, here's the ambassador to Washington DC. But you know, if it's such an easy job to do, or such an easy job to find somebody to do,
Dr. Christian Turner.
There we go.
Dr. Christian Turner. There we go. Never heard of him.
Career diplomat.
Career diplomat. I mean, so why don't you just give it to him in the first place?
Yeah.
Right? What's all the song and dance about with Peter Mandelson? Because presumably if your reasoning is that, he had to, you know, navigate these very choppy waters with Donald Trump, now they've just got a career diplomat doing it. Okay then, well, maybe you should have done that in the first place. And it would have saved us all an awful lot of money. Yeah. You know? Bizarre. This one from Adrian, who says, love your show, Mike. Please bring back the swearing. It's the home of common sense and free speech. Be yourself. You are the epitome of a Brit. Swearing is freedom of expression in every mood here in the UK, so the Hersey Word Brigade minority can pee off. Well, do you know what? Here's what we discovered over the course of the last couple of weeks. If you do swear, which I do from time to time, and I will from time to time, you actually get demonetised by YouTube, because they say that it's now an over 18s only, access show, which means that you don't get to be pushed into as many homes as you would like to be. So we're conscious of that, obviously, because you have to be.
This is fun family entertainment for all ages.
And I have had a few people say, do you mind not swearing? It's breakfast TV, and I've got my grandchildren in the car or whatever. So we're going to try and be better at that. We're going to try not to swear as much as we did, but there will always be swearing, presumably in some parts of the output that we do, particularly plonk of the week. Because by the time I've had a couple of glasses of wine in the morning, it tends to kind of get turned off. So so plonk of the week, which we're going to be filming later on with Donald McLeod, who happens to be. We're getting 19 crimes. I quite like that. That's Australian, isn't it?
Yes, a can.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I say
Under £10.
that is interesting because I've seen that bottled before, and I bought it before. It's actually not bad wine, Australian wine. So wine in a can is a thing now. I don't know whether you've ever been on a picnic with wine in a can.
Yeah, I have.
Are you not a fan?
Not by choice.
No.
I prefer it out of a bottle.
Yes,
Ideally with a cork, although...
Yeah, I don't really mind if it's not. I mean, that bottle that you brought me...
the Italian stuff.
The Italian stuff was really good. That was lovely. And I mean, a cork is, of course... But also, the sort of the wine snob in me has got over that.
Oh, has it?
About the cork, I mean, because there's now some very, very good wine which has a screw top.
Yeah, well, Australian wine is all bottle top, isn't it?
Absolutely. So. It doesn't really matter. And now, a couple of other stories just to mention before we move on. Winston Churchill is going to be ditched from the £5 notes, apparently. And I know that I probably have no business to say this shouldn't be happening and he shouldn't be being replaced by wildlife, even as we speak. This entire studio is full of wildlife and herons and all sorts of other things. And in fact I've got a new mug here which has been sent to me with a heron on it.
There's a note inside it.
And there is a note inside it. Do you want me to read that out? It says, "Hey Mike, yep, it's yet another mug. Sorry, couldn't resist. Love you more than herons. Not going." Oh, sorry, Nat from Israel. Nat. Thank you, Nat. Oh, good. Israel on. We've got a. Where are we? Here we are. I'll have to stick a pin. Oh my God! Do you know what's happened?
What?
Somebody's closed this up, and there's a pin sticking. Yeah, you closed it up, and there's a pin sticking out of it, and which has just gone into my finger. So there's a sort of. Army, why did you do that? I mean, it's like a woman. Oh, we're going to close it all up instead of just leaving it open, and now there's been a disaster. Anyway, never mind. We'll sort that out later. Winston Churchill on the £5
This is
note.
really, really
How the
irritating.
hell are we taking the greatest, non-living leader of our country off the £5 note and replacing him with a hedgehog or something?
Yeah, I'm going to try not to offend listeners too much here, but British wildlife is not that exciting, right? We're not like America where you have bald eagles and grizzly bears, or India where you have tigers and leopards. Exactly. Like the nice thing about British wildlife is it's all sort of slightly cute, cuddly and harmless, but that also means that it's not suitable for a banknote, right? Banknotes should have big, impressive, incredible things. What's always made this country extraordinary is the people of this country, their achievements in art, literature, history, military, politics.
Totally.
We are blessed with a wealth like no other nation of incredible people. And yet it's those people that are being taken off our banknotes. So, Churchill obviously one of them, and Churchill obviously warrants a place on a banknote. But I think it's the 100th anniversary, either this year or next year, of the discovery of penicillin. Right? One of the most remarkable achievements in modern medicine. Sir Alexander Fleming, what a great person to have on the banknote. Because they change the banknotes periodically, and for good reason. The longer you have one type of banknote, the easier it is to counterfeit. So if you keep on changing the security. So there is. So
there's a security reason for it.
Yes, security reason for changing them periodically.
Well, surely they could just change the picture though of Churchill.
Exactly.
Why don't they just use a different image?
Change the picture of Churchill, or if you really think Churchill's had enough time, change it to another Great Britain. Change it to Nelson. Change it to Wellington.
But I, as I'm sure you do as well, suspect this is all about the Bank of England being woke.
They're terrified.
Because the Bank of England know that there is a body of people in this country that most people in this country don't agree with, but who say, oh, but he was a terrible racist. He was a terrible man. Let's have a debate about whether Churchill was good or bad. No, let's not have a debate about whether he was good or bad. Churchill was good. The end. That's it. He managed to save us from fascism. He managed to beat the Germans during World War II. He managed to save the British nation from being invaded by the Nazis. And we'd all be speaking German if it wasn't for Winston Churchill. So the idea that you're going to go, oh yeah, but what about the Bay of Bengal scandal? No. How about you just shut up?
Yeah.
and say, take your hat off to him and say thank you very much indeed.
I mean, if they kept people on the banknotes, let's be honest, we would have ended up with Paddington Bear and Diane Abbott as our, £10 and £20
or Princess
notes.
Diana or something.
Yeah. So, but I really think it's shocking, and it shows how unserious we've become as a country. It shows the lack of pride that our major institutions have in us as a country.
Yeah.
What makes Britain incredible is its people.
Yeah.
The wildlife is nice, but it's not that exciting.
And it's another example of the woke kind of taking over an area which they shouldn't have any business being in, because most people, as you said, in this country would think if you asked to sort of identify, I don't know, 5 people who would be associated with great moments in British history, Winston Churchill would be one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Of course he would. Let's see what Nigel Farage had to say about this.
Are great British banknotes produced by the Bank of England, and they have on them giant figures like Winston Churchill, and yet they're proposing we replace people like him with a picture of a beaver. No, I'm not making it up. This is actually what they're proposing. This is how PC mad and loony everyone's gone, including the Bank of England. I think it's absolutely crackers. But I want to know, please, what do you think?
Yeah, you were saying even Ed Davies actually defending Churchill.
David
here,
put
right?
out a remarkable video with the exact same message as Nigel Farage. And you think, the Bank of England, you think how much money they have, how many comms people they have.
Yeah.
They can deal with a few angry, demonic lefties writing in about, oh, this person was terrible.
Well, they never write anything down, the demonic lefties.
No.
All they do is stand with megaphones shouting at people. They never actually bother to write anything down and make a cogent argument.
So maybe you should do a poll here at Common Sense with Mike Graham of which Britons should be the next
That's a good
people on the
poll.
banknote.
Should we
I'd
do
like
that
to
one
see
for
Nelson.
tomorrow?
Yeah.
I would
Should we
like
do
to
that
see
for
Nelson.
Yeah, for Nelson would be good. Yeah. Should we do that for tomorrow, Pooch? Let's make a note because we'll forget, won't we? Otherwise.
James Clerk Maxwell.
Because
Who would you
the
have?
list is
James
endless.
Clerk Maxwell.
Who's James Clerk Maxwell?
Third greatest physicist and mathematician.
Really?
There you
Do you
go.
know who that is?
I've
James
heard
Clerk
the
Maxwell?
name, but I'll take Peter's word for it.
All right. No, I've never heard of James Clerk
Oh, that's
Maxwell.
amazing.
All right, we may have to do a special on that. Absolutely extraordinary stuff. Also, there's a piece in The Sun about Starmer now signalling yet another U-turn, possibly on the 5p fuel tax increase, which they're supposedly going to bring in September, but for which they've been given a hell of a shellacking, because once again, ordinary people are going, would you stop taxing us, please, just for 5 minutes?
Yeah, so we're running a campaign on this because we think this is a really important moment. Despite 15 years of freezes under the Conservative government, and the Conservative government did a good job on fuel duty. They froze it for 14 years rather, and they even cut it in 2022. But despite that, we still actually have above average fuel taxes in Europe. We still pay more than the European average, which is remarkable. You think you freeze it for 14 years and you would be down the rankings. British drivers still pay too much tax in petrol. About half of your tank of petrol goes straight to the government. It's not paying for the fuel. And
well, they make
for the
it's sort of
Chancellor
double whammy for them, because not only do they get that, but they also get the VAT on top of it.
And you pay VAT on the fuel duty as well, which is
right.
remarkable. So you don't just pay VAT on the basic price of the petrol.
Right.
You pay fuel duty. You pay VAT on the fuel duty as well. So fuel duty is 53p a litre. So you pay VAT on that 53p. So it's a tax on a tax.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't
So I mean, I'm sorry to give people a headache at first thing in the morning, but I mean, it is extraordinary. I think if Rachel Reeves pours petrol on the fire of this situation, I really think,
Well, let's hope maybe that if he's not here after the May elections, that she also disappears with him, because I think
and it does look like they're going to use
they're a sort of it does, but also she's a kind of 2 for 1, buy one get one free, buy one idiot. Keir Starmer, get Rachel Reeves to come along with him. Hopefully she goes out the door with him. And then finally, piece of the Telegraph today, page 2 of the Telegraph, African nations are lobbying across the world to accuse Britain of playing a key part in the worst crime in history. This is all about Ghana, apparently wanting reparations for slavery.
Yeah, they do this because it's their annual Commonwealth Head of Governments meeting. There's always a bunch of nations demanding reparations for something or other.
Right.
I think we need to stop going to these meetings because they're nothing more than lectures from poor countries that can't get their act together, can't build up institutions, can't build up democracies through every fault of their own, and demand British taxpayers bail them out. and we should stop going to these meetings. It's a
I
waste
agree.
of time.
Couldn't agree with you more. Elliot Keck from the Taxpayers Alliance, thank you very much indeed. This from Hev Chip as a super chat. I'm sick and tired of everything we know as our British history being eradicated. Leave our history alone. It's who we are. True. Absolutely right. You know, I don't understand why so many people want to disregard what we have as our history. Diane Abbott would be good on a £13 note. Absolutely right. One from Gwen who says, love your show, Mike. It makes my day. If you could wish me a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Gwen. Well done. Thank you for reaching that great age. Trent says, I grew up in the US being told from my dad Churchill was a real hero. He was a great man. Well, this is the trouble. You hear it in America all the time. If you go to America, unless you talk to Barack Obama, who of course famously removed the Churchill bust from the Oval Office when he was president, basically everyone in America goes, Churchill, what a guy. You know, he saved us from the Nazis. Yeah, of course he did. And now they will replace him with a hedgehog because they're woke at the Bank of England. Absolutely mad. Ridiculous. Mike should have a Phil Oakey haircut. Oh, God. It says front side bust. I don't know about that. I'm getting some flack from people saying you shouldn't have your haircut on the show. It's not hygienic. It's all right.
Not hygienic.
Well, I mean, who knows?
It's ridiculous.
It is, I know. In the name of God, Keir, just go, says Dorset Geezer. Yeah, I wish he would. I really do.
And two more just to catch up.
Two more. Jeff says, Mike, I like your hair. You look like a father who would hide rebels from the redcoats in a movie about the American Revolutionary War.
$5 well
Bit of a
spent.
stretch. Okay, fair enough. And then finally, Trent says, hi, from the US of A. Hi, Trent, how are you? Nice vest.
Where on the map?
Yeah, where can we put you on the map, Trent? Because we've got these pins here, many of which are now on the floor beneath me, thanks to Pooch's tidying up techniques. I think you've been listening to your wife too much.
I have, yeah.
You've been starting to tidy up. I was going to mention her name, but she'd probably tell me off, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, we've got Botswana, which we just added in today. We've also got Cape Town, which we're going to add in today. We've now got Israel, which we can add in. Yeah. And we're going to do another one in America. So Trent, tell us where you are in America, and we'll stick it on the map. The map is here, as you can see. Here it is. And so we're populating it with, this is where our audience is. Anyway, so if you're anywhere in the world, tell us where you are, and we'll stick a pin in it. This, of course. What?
There you go.
Oh, listening from Aberdeen, Sierra Leone. Wow. I mean, I'll have to ask Pooch where Sierra Leone is because I'm not sure.
Left-hand side in the
Is it on the kind of, is it there sort of, ish?
Yeah, a bit higher up. Yeah.
Bit higher up, yeah, okay. Because he had to correct me on where Morocco was the other day. And Botswana, there we go. Okay, cool. Excellent, all right. Have we done the news yet?
No, let's do it.
So let's do the news with Edward Hughes. Elliot Keck, thank you very much indeed. See you soon. We've got loads more to do. Chris Rose coming up. Christian Drogan coming up as well. Jamie Jenkins, of course, our favourite statistician, is here too. We'll get to all of those great guests as we go through the course of the show, all the way through till 9:30. Donald McLeod is in the house as well. I was out with him last night. He bought me dinner, actually, which was nice of him. I've learned, this is what you do with Donald, is you go, excuse me, I'm just going to the loo. And then by the time you come back, if you hang around long enough in the loo, by the time you come back, he's got so bored he's paid the bill.
Is he going to bill me for that, though?
Probably, yeah. This is the trouble. We're all paying, unfortunately, and as we are for his hotel. Crikey. I don't know who came up with this business plan, but it doesn't seem to be working out quite as well as we thought. Anyway, never mind. Let's get some news with Edward Hughes.
Good morning, I'm Edward Hughes with your news. Fresh documents released today reveal Prime Minister Keir Starmer was warned of serious reputational risk before appointing Lord Peter Mandelson as US Ambassador. Due to his past ties to Jeffrey Epstein, Mandelson, sacked last year, reportedly sought a £500,000 severance payout. In politics, at Prime Minister's questions, Starmer accused Conservative leader Kimi Badenoch of the mother of all U-turns over her shifting stance on UK involvement in the Iran conflict after earlier calling for Britain to join US-Israeli strikes. The government is reviewing fuel duty rises planned for September amid global energy instability from the Middle East tensions, with Chancellor Rachel Reeves hinting at targeted support for households facing higher costs. Elsewhere, MPs have launched an inquiry into student loans amid concerns over graduate debt burdens. Regulators are pressing social media giants to strengthen age checks for under 13s to protect children online. And weather-wise, wind warnings are in place as colder conditions and even some mountain snow move south later this week. That's your UK headlines roundup. Stay tuned for more updates. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
His moving face has disappeared again. It's not easy, this job, you know. You think that it's easy. Once you've conquered something, you think, this is great. Pooch is not getting paid enough to do the moving. What about Edward Hughes? Is he getting paid?
Yeah, no, that's where all the money goes.
He's put his bill in. And so we can't afford to have his mouth moving anymore. We have to talk to the management. Oh no, we are the management. Yeah, we've been having a few rows lately, which is all good, by the way. It's what we should be doing, because obviously finding the way forward. And when you're successful, you actually have more rows than when you're not successful. Because when you're not successful, everybody's so concerned that you're not successful that they don't have the energy or the wherewithal to have a row. But when you are successful, you're going to go, hang on a minute, why are we not doing this? And why are we not doing that? And why are we not doing the other? And that's what we're doing at the moment. 7:45, what's the international clock saying? At 7:45 and 41 seconds. If you look behind me there, you'll see that we've managed to fix the international clock, that one, which says just after 7:45. And then the other one, which is that one, doesn't seem to be working quite so well. I'm not sure about that. Probably because we can't afford another battery.
Well, there you go, mate.
Is that the problem? What was that? Could you ask Dan the hairdresser to bring a couple of batteries for the non-working clock? Well, I don't know if it's that easy to fix. It might not be.
I tried fixing it.
Yeah, Pooch. I mean, Pooch works literally round the clock, right? And the fact is that, you know, there's only so much he can do. And there's only so much that we can fix at the one time. You know, there's a thing about... Did you not say you were going to show us a plate spinning video?
Oh, yeah, I'll get that, yeah.
Or can we not afford that either?
Just explain that to people actually...
Yeah, because actually, this is a thing that we used to say all the time when we were younger, that it was all about spinning plates. And we didn't know why we said it. And one of the reasons why we said it was because there was actually an act that used to go... They used to be called variety acts, you know, and people would go on like the Morecambe and Wise show, they would go on TV shows in the evenings, whether it was ITV or the BBC, and they would do a trick. You know, they could be magicians or they could be, you know, acrobats. They could do some high wire trapeze type stuff. And sometimes you'd get people who would actually spin plates. And you would have like a pole over here and a pole over there, and you'd have plates, and you'd put the plate on the top of the pole and you'd spin it, and it would, and you'd have to hold it like that, and then over here it's like that, and over here you'd have another plate to spin, and then suddenly you would have, they used to have, and then they'd build it and build it and build it, and you would end up with about 8 different plates, and that's kind of what Pooch does every day. Right? So you'd literally be running from one pole to the other, spinning the plates, making sure that they didn't fall and didn't break. That's the job, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, I've nearly got it.
And occasionally, he gets a note from somebody, not always Donald, but sometimes.
Let's have a look.
And it kind of just sends you over the edge, and you go, I know the bloody sound isn't working that well. All right? Have a look. That is exactly what we used to watch on the Saturday night, right? And we'd all be sitting there going, this is amazing. It's amazing how he does that. And that's exactly what Pooch does every day, right? Spinning plates, holding, you know, everything together while at the same time running around like a maniac. So please do forgive us if occasionally something goes a bit wrong. Or, you know, somebody goes, we can't hear you very well, or, you know, you've got that wrong, or why don't you get more people ringing in, or why don't you fix,
In front of the building, you let the guest in.
Yeah, because there's a reason. He's run out the door to get somebody in. Anyway, we got Chris Rose now. Is it Chris Rose? Chris, very good morning to you, sir.
Morning. Good to
Nice
see you
to
again.
see you. Sorry about that. I was just trying to sort of explain to the good people of the Mike Graham Show audience why sometimes things go a bit wrong, because we've got so much going on. There's so many plates spinning. I mean, you might describe the government in the same way, because they also are spinning a load of plates, most of which are going to come crashing down on them at some point. Can you believe, by the way, that this complete and utter non-entity of a Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is still in the building? How has he not left?
It's surprising because Keir Starmer in opposition would be the first to say Keir Starmer as Prime Minister should resign. I mean, we now know that he lied about the not knowing about Peter Mandelson's friendship with the paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. We know that he also knew about it at the time. He misled Parliament. He lied to us, the British public, again. I don't understand why he hasn't already resigned. I mean, he should have done so yesterday, straight after Prime Minister's question, as soon as you all came to clear. We know that Peter Mandelson asked for, almost $500,000 in severance pay,
right,
and he got 75,000, which is still, as a taxpayer, it's still quite annoying. All that money should be returned to us. If I got sacked for my job, I wouldn't get a big payout just to, keep me quiet. I wouldn't be able to say, oh, please don't tell anyone about this. It just sums up the government. They're just, for themselves, I think they're worse for hypocrisy than the actual previous Tory government. At least.
Oh, very much so. Because, it's one thing to say, sign a non-disclosure agreement. That happens all the time in private business, and people get told, you can't talk about the job that you used to do and all of that. But this is different. This is a man who's under investigation by the police, right? Who is in no unquestionable way likely to be charged with a crime. And so there is no, I would say, court in the land that would uphold paying him off in any way, shape or form, particularly with public money.
No, there isn't. As you say, he could be in jail. And there's also the stuff that he leaked about the government as well during the Brown years. I just think it's absolutely disgraceful, really. And the money, as I said, should be returned to the British public. That if this was under a Tory Prime Minister, Keir Starmer would be the first to say all that money should be returned. He would be demanding that the government returns to Parliament so they could be questioned about it and examined about it. And I did read yesterday that he prepared some questions for his own MPs, some friendly fire questions. And, I think his MPs need to grow a backbone, particularly those in his cabinet. Do they want to stick around for this? Do they want to defend it? Or do they actually want to resign and have a bit of dignity? I don't think any of them really have much left anyway, but if they could grow a little bit by just saying, you know what, I'm going to resign now. We will remember it, the British public. We'll still vote them out anyway, but at least they can say, oh, well, I'm not as bad as, Keir Starmer is. When they have their soon impending leadership contest after the May elections, at least they can say, oh, well, I'm a candidate who resigned under Keir Starmer. They'll look better for their own base. It will help them in the long run, and it will help the country as well, because we can't really keep going on to this Keir Starmer government. He's a man who's run by China. He can't really defend the country against Islamists either. He's in control of both of those groups. And I just think, the sooner we get rid of him, the better.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. You would imagine, would you not, that it would be nice if Labour government ministers or even just backbench MPs could go with their cap in hand to the electorate and say, look, we're terribly sorry, but we've now discovered that Keir Starmer is not only a complete dud as a Prime Minister, but he's a liar. He's somebody who has obfuscated the truth continually through the time that he's been in Downing Street, and this is the final straw, and we want you to know that we do not support him, and we want you to know that we have stood up against him, so that when the next election comes around, please vote for us, because we are people of integrity. But not one of them is saying any of that.
No, none of them are. And I remember when it was Categate, they actually hounded Tory MPs saying, "Oh, you should resign ASAP."
Right.
That was apparently their last straw. But with this current situation under Peter Mandelson, not one of them has done so far. I've seen backbench MPs like John MacDonald write a tweet yesterday saying that Keir Starmer should do more. I think that the Labour MPs who are more likely to defect to the Green Party are the ones that are going to stand up to him, but none of his cabinet so far has come out and said, "Oh, we're sorry about this. Keir Starmer has to resign." And I think, Andy Burnham must be absolutely delightful. He might be able to get revenge for them blocking him standing in the by-election the other day. Because at this point, I think Labour MPs have think to themselves, I wish Andy Burnham was in Parliament so he can actually stand to be leader, because it just keep getting worse for Keir Starmer. I mean, he's done in my opinion, done a dreadful job leading the country with the conflict in Iran. But now we've got this Mandelson again, and I just can't see Labour having any good results by May. I think things will continue to get worse and worse. I do think there's even worse news and worse revelations to come. I mean, it's not just even Keir Starmer. There's also David Lammy, who needs to resign as well. He tried to throw Keir Starmer under the bus by saying that he tried to warn Keir Starmer about Peter Mandelson, but then we found out that he actually approved of it, his own appointment. And, that's typical Calamity Lammy, trying to throw someone under the bus, but he ends up hurting himself in the end,
Because, I mean, if it wasn't for Diane Abbott, he'd be the thickest person in Parliament, and that's the thing that really is astonishing. By the way, I'm told there's a funny quacking noise going on. We don't know what it is. After telling us about the spinning of the plates, suddenly, for some reason, my audio has turned into some kind of quacking sound. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. We're trying to fix it. Let me ask you about the reparations conversation. I don't know whether you've seen this story, Chris, in the Telegraph today. African nations are lobbying across the world to accuse Britain of playing a key part in the worst crime in history. Ghana apparently is going to use its United Nations seat this month to table a resolution on behalf of the African Union, which is committed to seeking redress for the historic crimes of slavery and colonialism. This resolution will recognise the slave trade as the greatest crime against humanity, as the Union hopes to secure reparations to compensate for historical crimes. I mean, of course, people will say, well, slavery was a bad thing. Oh, really? You think? But Britain actually ended it. So this idea that we should somehow pay African nations reparations is a nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a nonsense. And for some odd reason, every few months, this argument always comes up. To me, I think reparations is just one of the biggest scams in history. They're trying to just, probably just boost up their approval ratings in Ghana by saying, well, we're going to get this for you again. I don't think we need to repay this at all. As I said, Britain played a key part in ending slavery. And through taxpayers' money over the years, I think we've actually paid the amount that was owed for the reparations anyway. So I don't know why they're asking for, was it probably millions or billions? Amount that Britain can't actually afford anyway. And I just don't, they can't really justify it. And I think what they need to do is actually work on ending any type of, dodginess in politicians in the African nations, because they're far more corrupt than they are in the Western civilizations. I think that would be much beneficial to the actual Africans that live in Africa, just to see their politics less corrupt and the money actually going back to the people there. I think that should be a much higher priority than this. This it's effectively just for show, just fighting for reparations. They know it's not going to happen. We know it's not really going to happen. And rightfully so, it shouldn't really happen at all. But they're just going on about it and saying, oh, we'll do it, but it's just a waste of time.
Yeah, it totally is. Absolutely right. Chris Rose, great to talk to you. Thank you. Was there talking to us about the reparations nonsense, which is just really another kind of gimmick for lawyers to try and feather their nests. I've got somebody in Pitcairn Island saying they're listening to us, Pooch, which is right in the middle of nowhere, right? So there isn't. I don't think it's even on the map. But I'm going to stick it in sort of off the coast of New Zealand in the Pacific. So I've done it kind of there, right? So that's kind of Pitcairn Island there, even though it doesn't appear to be in any kind of landmass, which is very cool. So wherever you are in the world, by the way, just let us know, because we'd love to hear it. Dell says this: get Rupert Lowe on. He's not wanted by all media and Facebook News Talk. Facebook News Talk and Ant Middleton, love you lots. Fan, I'm a big fan, says Dell. Yeah, listen, you know, we'll talk to Rupert Lowe whenever. We have had him on. I've had him on shows before. And I'm sure we'll have him on again whenever there's a reason. Trent says this: a cup of tea for Pooch. Thank you very much indeed for that super chat. Tell us where you are, Trent, though, so we can put it on the map. Mandy's sausages reek of Starmer, says David the Mank. I see what you did there. And one from Marco's Magic. He's a national embarrassment. The Globe is looking at the UK puzzled and worried about our fall-off under these Brit-hating LIBOR commies. It's a disgrace. I know it is. It really is. It's embarrassing how bad everything is. Now, coming up, we're going to be speaking to Christian Drogan, who is, of course, our man in the Watchman organisation. He's going to be telling us some stories that he's been looking at this week. And then Jamie Jenkins coming up after him as well. It's all coming up after this.
Good morning. I'm Edward Hughes with your news. Fresh documents released today reveal Prime Minister Keir Starmer was warned of serious reputational risk before appointing Lord Peter Mandelson as US ambassador. Due to his past ties to Jeffrey Epstein, Mandelson, sacked last year, reportedly sought a £500,000 severance payout. In politics, at Prime Minister's questions, Starmer accused Conservative leader Kimi Badenoch of the mother of all U-turns over her shifting stance on UK involvement in the Iran conflict, after earlier calling for Britain to join US-Israeli strikes. The government is reviewing fuel duty rises planned for September amid global energy instability from the Middle East tensions, with Chancellor Rachel Reeves hinting at targeted support for households facing higher costs. Elsewhere, MPs have launched an inquiry into student loans amid concerns over graduate debt burdens. Regulators are pressing social media giants to strengthen age checks for under-13s to protect children online. And weather-wise, wind warnings are in place as colder conditions and even some mountain snow move south later this week. That's your UK headlines roundup. Stay tuned for more updates. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
Thank you very much indeed. That's Edward Hughes with the news, of course. As I said, coming up later on, we'll be playing you a few other, shall we say, notifications from various different MPs about Peter Mandelson. James Clever's been talking about it. Alex Burghart's been talking about it as well. Darren Jones, of course, the stooge who sits behind Keir Starmer and kind of does his bidding for him. He now, of course, is terribly sort of apologetic about Keir Starmer, what he knew when he knew it. Mike, can you try plate spinning with a plate behind you, says Trish. What do you mean, the one with that one over there, with Harry and Meghan on it? Yeah, that one. Yeah, well, we'll show you that in a minute, or maybe later in the week. When I say later in the week, it's Friday tomorrow, isn't it? It's Thursday today. A lot of people making fun of me with the heron scenario, saying that they're going to put a heron on the banknotes instead of Winston Churchill, which they might do, I don't know. I got a picture actually overnight from my daughter in Dubai, because she spotted the Dubai heron once again, and also lots of you sending in more pictures of herons, which of course we will carry as we go forward. Coming up now though, let us speak to Christian Drogan, who is of course our man with his eye on the ball, figuring out what is going on in this country culturally, and mostly to do as well with illegal immigration. He's with Watchman, the organisation that keeps an eye on what is going on in this country. Christian, very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How are you doing, Mike?
Yeah, very well indeed. It's been a funny old week, actually, because we started off the week by reporting on the football business and how the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was turned into a sort of mosque for the night when they did an iftar there, and had some guy, you know, chanting into a microphone and singing, and it was such a bizarre scene. And similarly, Wrexham played Chelsea, I think, in the FA Cup, and you could see Ryan Reynolds, the owner of Wrexham, very puzzled as he watched. They took a break in the match so that one of the players for Chelsea, who was a Muslim, could have a drink of water because he's fasting for Ramadan. And people are kind of going, "What's all this about?" And you've got a similar story from your neck of the woods about a Labour MP. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I mean, this is actually from last year. This clip, Mike, and but it didn't really ever seem relevant until Labour started really pushing the Islamophobia law that they're trying to bring in, and next thing you know, you've got football clubs playing out the call to prayer, and which, to be fair, you know, the words to the call to prayer. If you translate them into English, they're not exactly in line with a lot of people's beliefs, basically.
Inclusive,
in this country.
I think is the word you're looking for, right?
That's it. Yeah. So
it's a good point, actually. What does the call to prayer actually say?
Well, something along. I can't remember the exact definition. It's something along the lines of, God is the greatest. There is no God but Allah. The only God in the world is Allah. So, you know, that's what the first few lines roughly translate to. A few of the lines are repeated, but yeah. So I just thought to myself, actually. It's all getting a bit much this now. It's like the Islamification of Britain, or the Islamization of Britain is becoming very apparent. And I remember thinking back to a clip a video that I'd taken, and I played the video, and to be honest, I'd actually forgotten what was said on the clip until I played it back. I think I've sent it over. If you've got it to play, it's quite an interesting one.
It is. I mean, I don't think we've actually. I think as a result of various different problems this morning, we haven't actually loaded it up. But it's basically Paul. Is it Paul Waugh, the Labour MP?
Yeah, Paul Waugh he's stated that he's a very good friend, the Palestinian ambassador. Yeah. Who technically at the time wasn't even the ambassador, right. But Hussam Zomlot is his very good friend. Now, after the videos that we've seen of Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves with her link that were released by Robert Jenrick, and obviously the video of Keir Starmer having his arm stroked by Hussam Zomlot.
By the same guy, I remember that, which was really creepy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just sort of, it's just another little bit of proof that Labour are quite heavily in bed with, with Islamists, effectively.
Well, I mean, presumably, and I don't know whether you've had an opportunity to look into this, but I presume if you do the old Watergate test, which is follow the money, you would probably find that quite a lot of local Labour Party MPs are in some way in the pay of donations, one would think, from local Islamist organisations, some of which might be completely benign, some of which might not be completely benign. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't have any evidence of this, but I've heard from very good sources. So allegedly, I believe that in the past, and again, I don't have proof of this, it's alleged, but I've heard that there have been offers from from Muslim leaders in Rochdale, particularly, to actually give money to the Labour Party, right. Providing they work together. So that's alleged. I don't actually have the evidence of that, but I've heard from very good sources.
Well, you know, as well as I do, Christian, that that's the way the cookie crumbles. If you want to get successful in politics, you need to make sure you've got some seed money, and if you have to get that money from somewhere that might be considered to be a bit, dodgy, you might take a view on that, and you might say, well, I don't care, I just need the money.
Yeah, and I mean, in other news, I didn't see it with my own eyes, but I was in Manchester at the time. We've had people on horseback chasing. Chasing,
well, I've seen a video of
the
that.
Street, should we say?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like something from the Wild West, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all a bit crazy, really. And to be fair, I think we've got to try and put our foot down somewhere or another. I think Labour are running away with this Islamophobia definition and law that they're trying to bring in, and realistically, I think there's much greater issues to focus on, such as a grooming gang inquiry and things like that. So
yeah, totally. I mean, that's the other thing that's interesting, is that we saw the story this week that the Greens having won in Gorton and Denton as a result of their kind of massaging, shall we say, in the kindest way of the Muslim vote. We're now hearing that there's going to be a load of defections possibly from the Labour government to the Green Party, so that suddenly, you know, Labour MPs will suddenly become Green MPs, and then suddenly you've got another problem.
Yeah, I mean, personally, it proves that the Muslim vote has just piggybacked on the back of Labour, and now they feel like they're done with them. They're tossing them to the side, and they're going with Greens, and I'm pretty sure the same thing will happen to the Green Party. So, if the Greens want to be so stupid to do that, then on their head be it.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely shocking. Great. Well, listen, Christian, good to talk to you. What are you up to this week? What can we look forward to when we talk to you next week?
So, yeah, I'm heading around the country this week. I'm heading over to a couple. So actually, this week I've been to a couple of protests, even just your regular weekly hotel protests. I've been trying to speak to the lefties, trying to do it fair, balanced reporting.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what happens when you do approach the lefties, they don't want to speak to you. People on the right, they're quite happy to voice their opinion, show the faces. So yeah, I'm going to hit the road, and I'm going to go get around the country and try and get to some hotel protests and just put it on the toes of these people who are protesting on both sides, and see why people are there. And that's what I'm planning on doing. So
all right, good stuff.
Yeah,
sounds great. And Watchmen, tell people where they can find it.
Yeah, so it's online. It's watchmanuk.com, or if they want to go on our socials, it's at Watchman Raw on our socials.
Great stuff. Great job you're doing, Christian. Thank you very much indeed. Christian Drogan checking in with us from Manchester, where there's an awful lot going on, including, by the way, and we didn't really do much with this earlier in the week, but we probably should have done, and we probably should look at it again. People riding around on horseback, right? Just think about this for a second. Right, this is 2026, Britain, riding around on horseback, operating some kind of Sharia law explanation, right? Chasing people on horseback who are possibly demonstrating against those people who are demonstrating on behalf of Palestine or on behalf of Iran. And these characters on horseback, like sort of, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, riding around Manchester streets, and the police not doing anything about it. And in fact, at one point, there's a video which I'm sure you might have seen on social media. We may indeed play it later on in the week, and or tomorrow, as we would say, where the police officer in the street says, "What do you expect us to do? Do you think we should just pull them off the horses?" Oh yeah, actually, yeah, that would be good. Just say to them, "Excuse me." I mean, if I got on a horse, right? I'm walking out the studio. I get on a horse.
I wouldn't pull you off.
You wouldn't pull me off.
No.
Thanks. Yeah. Pooch is not having a great day because we haven't got any money now, right? So we worked out that, we can't afford to do anything. And the quacking seems to have stopped, though, which is good. Yeah, imagine if I get on a horse and just start riding down sort of, Lambeth Road, which is not far from where we are. I'm pretty sure that I would be stopped by a police officer going, "What are you doing?" Right? What are you doing? These guys are not only riding on horses, they're actually chasing people off the streets of Manchester because they don't like what they're protesting against. Because they're protesting against, the scumbags that want a free Palestine. I don't understand it. But apparently that's fine. It's just really ridiculous, isn't it? You might hear chuckling in the background. Donald McLeod is here from the Clan McLeod. He took me out for dinner last night, and I've worked out a fantastic method of getting him to pay for dinner, which is to basically go to the toilet and spend so much time there that by the time he comes back, he's paid because he's bored. Anyway, so we'll be talking to him. Also, Plank of the Week we're going to be filming later on, and Plonk of the Week. We're going to do it all, but this time we're going to do it in the right order, so that when we do Plank of the Week, we'll still be sober, hopefully. Coming up, this is one from Ed, who says, this is a super chat. "Mick, I have Churchill on my phone screensaver. Well done to you. Well, don't change it for a hedgehog." Mick, what did I say?
No, he's calling you Mick.
He's calling me Mick?
Yeah.
Don't call me Mick. That was one of the things people used to say to me when I was a kid. If they called me Mick, I was like, "Don't call me that. You can call me Mike, you can call me Michael. Please don't call me Mick." Anyway, thank you. We've got also the map of shame. These are the people who are watching the show. Pitcairn Island we added in today, Cape Town as well, and I've just had one from Finland, Helsinki. How do I find that? Is that sort of up here? No. Hey?
Sweden, look at Sweden.
Sweden there. Yeah. Is that Finland there? But it's right next to Russia, isn't it? So I'm going to put it there. About there. That's Finland there, right? Okay, isn't it? There you go. It's like geography lesson. This is brilliant. Right, coming up after this, Jamie Jenkins will be joining us.
Why don't you relax and be a bit more MG? That would be a triumph.
Really?
Well, fucking right.
Look at that. Hey, we were on the air, by the way. That was Donald McLeod's hand. Anyway, we had a good time last night. Very nice time at Boysdale, the Scottish restaurant. We had haggis, believe it or not. And I had calves, liver and bacon, which was very good. You had steak tartare.
Tartare.
I seem to remember. Jamie Jenkins is here, though, our favourite statistician. Jamie, very good morning to you, sir.
Morning, Mike. Have you had any viewers in from North Korea yet? So you can check in how Starmer's running our country?
Well, they haven't admitted to watching us from North Korea. I don't think you're allowed to watch TV in North Korea, are you?
Well, they might be trying to sneak through the VPN to try and find out what this totalitarian.
Yeah, we're a bit bereft, sort of, in the general sort of Asian region over here. So the more the merrier. I'm pretty sure we've got Hong Kong. I know we've got Hong Kong listeners. So if you are listening in Hong Kong, let us know so we can put it on, or indeed anywhere in mainland China. Shenzhen. There you go. Now, I'm really going to struggle. Where am I going to find that? Is that sort of there? There? Hang on, like there. Shenzhen there? Bit further off. You want him in charge of air traffic control here. Where are we going? Shenzhen. Bit further over. Right, there you go. And there. There you go. How about Wuhan? Do you know, when, funnily enough, when the COVID thing started, hey, what about this? Oh, sorry, I was at Boysdale's last night. Did you see a bunch of Japanese people? I was with them. I think we did see some Japanese people. Yeah, they were smoking on the balcony, weren't they? Smoking cigars. Yeah, there was a load of Japanese people smoking cigars. Yeah, but here's the thing. Jamie, sorry about this. Jamie's looking at me going, what's he talking about? When the whole thing started with Wuhan, a guy rang in from Wuhan, and he was an English guy, and apparently Wuhan has got quite a big English community. And he was like a DJ. He'd gone there to work for some computer company, but he was a DJ in his spare time. And he said, I do like parties for the English expats who live in Wuhan. I was amazed. I was like, blimey, it's a small world, isn't it?
Well, the way the show's going, Mike, you'll have news correspondents all over the world, and you'll be, taking over the BBC. I always find it funny with the BBC. Anything that happens, they have to have a correspondent somewhere in the world, don't they? Much it costs the taxpayer to do that. Absolutely mental.
Whereas we take a different approach, where we go, look, here's the thing. If you're in a particular place, whether it be, South Wales or, the South China Sea, you talk to us. We haven't got any money. We can't pay you anything. It doesn't cost the taxpayer anything. And, it's a very successful model because you know just as much as any BBC correspondent, if not more, because you happen to be immersed in the community where you live,
Oh, totally, Mike. And talking on the BBC, actually, and some stats, I know some other topics we can get into. One, probably, I can imagine you haven't picked this up this morning. The BBC's done a survey of GPs, Mike. And so I was picking this up when I was reading the news this morning. And hundreds of GPs have reacted to the BBC survey. And they're talking about how many fit notes, sick notes that they're giving out across the country. And this one will kind of get on your back, Mike. They were saying that hundreds of GPs, this is one of the top news stories today, hundreds of GPs have said they've never refused to give kind of a sick note to somebody who asks for mental health reasons. And we had 11.2 million overall kind of sick notes allocated last year. It's going up. 72% of them don't give a reason. And you need those kind of fit sick notes, whatever they're calling them. Well, obviously, when you're an employer, if you're going more than 5-7 days, literally, we're just seeing that going up and up and up and up and up. And literally, Mike, this is an epidemic of just basically, if you've got a mental health issue, go to the GP, say, oh, can you sign me off work? Most of them are saying they won't even bother, challenging you on that. This is where this country's going from in terms of...
Partly because as well, you don't have to actually physically go to the GP. You can just get a referral on video or you get a referral on the phone. I used to talk to a doctor when I was at Talk, and he actually admitted to me that he would give people sick notes without ever seeing them. And I'm like, what? What? So how long can you sign? And he said, I can sign people off for like 9 weeks. All they've got to do is ring me up and say they want to be signed off for 9 weeks, and I'll sign them off.
Yeah, and then we had that time, didn't we, during the pandemic, where if you were ill, you weren't supposed to go and see the doctor, which was always bizarre. You know, if you've got any symptoms of being ill, stay at home, which is what's the point of going to the doctor? That's the whole point of going to the doctor.
I always tell the story. One of my favourite sort of COVID moments was when somebody sent me a picture in, and they'd been down to their local GPs, right? And on the door there was a sign that said, "Please do not enter if you're ill." And you're going, you're a doctor. Why do you think I'm come to see you? I mean, I'm ill. That's why I'm here. You're right. But they were like, no. You don't want to come to us if you're ill.
Well, and you can imagine how many of those people who want to get a fit or a sick note can't even get through to the doctor. You know, you always got that 8 a.m. in the morning kind of rush to try and get through to the GP, which you're going to go. But some of the big things out this week, Mike, you know, I think we probably want to touch on. Digital ID seems to be resurfacing, and I saw that the minister who was talking about that was Darren Jones, and obviously he was put up again by Starmer about the Mandelson saga yesterday. He just seems to be either the unfortunate one that Starmer chucks out in front of the media to talk about stuff. He's pushing this digital ID again, Mike, and they're talking about it in relation to this gov.uk wallet. Basically, every transaction you have with government, it'll be logged, and it's basically an ID between you and the state. And I've got to remember, you know, I imagine many of your listeners are against digital ID, and I am. And 1.8 billion cost. I remember when it was first mooted, and you was on your old show at Talk, and I think it was within 24 hours of it coming out, Mike, and we talked about, remember what they said at the start, that digital ID was going to be the solution for all these illegal migrants coming over on small boats. This was going to be the solution for illegal working. Well, I come out and basically give you some facts that we've got digital ID in Europe, doesn't stop it over there. And we've got whistleblowers coming up, Mike, saying that this system doesn't meet the security standards that what you'd expect. You've got that 1.8 billion cost. And this just isn't the way that the government should be. You know, we're always told, Mike, that money's tight. So how can we afford 1.8 billion pounds for a policy that was never in the Labour manifesto? How do you work that one out?
Incredible. We've actually got a clip of Darren Jones talking to Nick Ferrari about this digital ID thing. Shall we have a look?
Can you give my listeners an assurance now that it would be scrapped if the panel goes against you and your colleagues?
Well, it can definitely range from changes.
You can't say that, can you?
Well, it's a consultation.
What's the point of having a panel, Chief Secretary? You've already decided the outcome.
No, that's not true. That's not
so
true.
So you will scrap it. If the panel finds against it, you will scrap it.
If we have unanimous feedback in the consultation that says everybody thinks it's a disaster, then we're probably not going to go ahead with it, because we need people to want to use it.
But what about a majority? 52 plays 48, numbers you might remember. How would that be?
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll come back and talk to you about the consultation when we've gone through it.
So they're doing a consultation, right? But basically not going to pay any attention to what people say, because nobody wants it. There's no point, as you say. We haven't got, one, haven't got the money. Two, we probably couldn't do it properly anyway, and you certainly can't guarantee people's security. And what's it for at the end of the day? If they're really going to say that they think this is going to stop the boats because people don't want to come here because they'll have to tell us who they are, what a load of old cobblers. I mean, you've got figures today showing me, I think, 816 crossings in 5 days on the old the dinghies. You know, ridiculous.
Yeah, and I put that out a few days ago, Mike, and 816. Then what we've had since, with another 309. It was my birthday on Monday, Mike. So my birthday present from the government was another 309 came over on small boats for us to pay for on the taxpayer. We've had over nearly 3,500 this year alone, 1,200 in a week. There's no deterrent. They talk about smashing the gangs. They then talk about digital ID will stop all of this because they won't be able to come over here and get any jobs. Then we were told, oh, we've got this one in, one out deal with the government in France that as soon as they come in, that's been an absolute shambles, which me and you were talking about and calling out at the time. Then, what was it last week? I think Shabana Mahood was talking about £10,000 each to leave. So they're upping the amount of money that you can get paid to leave, up to about £40,000 a family. The remarkable stat I saw in that, Mike, was they were saying that to house a family of 4 migrants, the asylum seekers, she was saying it was £158,000 a year. You know, are they putting them up in the Ritz or something, Mike, for that 100? Oh, they get £158,000 to house a family of 4 a year. You know, where's that number coming from? That is absolutely mental.
It's incredible, isn't it? Because you know why the numbers are so high in terms of the cost is because it's all run by government departments. You know, it's like the old, those stories you used to get about the Ministry of Defence. You know, how much does that hammer cost you? Oh, £43. You go, well, you could have bought it for £3 down at B&Q. No, but this is, military procurement. So therefore we pay through the nose. Same with Serco, who run most of these campaigns and most of these, shows where they move people out of hotels and into houses of multiple occupancy, and so everything is overcharged. Everything is sort of set up as a premium payment, and everything costs more money because it's in the public sector.
Yeah, and if you manage to get a deal with the NHS, I remember somebody saying that if you were in pain and you were in kind of hospital or you needed to go to the GP, the prescription charges for simple things like paracetamol, where you can probably buy it for 40 pence a pack, costs the NHS an absolute fortune. I always grew up, Mike, thinking that when you're a big monopoly on something, you can drive down costs, because if you think, well, I'm going to order so much off you, I'm a big government department, you should get things cheaper. But it does seem to go the other way. And that's the problem with these small boats and the costs, Mike, that, what was it? I think nearly £5 billion just on the accommodation alone. And basically these kind of private companies, you've mentioned Serco, you've seen these adverts, haven't you, where they're literally writing to landlords, putting out events across the country, writing to landlords, trying to get them to give them homes so they can house them in these HMOs. This is just a complete racket that's costing the taxpayer money. We've got to get this deterrent, Mike. We talk about it regularly on your show. The numbers are continuing to go up. They continue to cost the taxpayer until you get rid of this pull factor. So put in the amount of money that you got in. You imagine you could get somebody given 10 grand to leave, and they'll just come over and probably claim they're somebody else the next time they come over, because you have no documents of who these people are.
Well, exactly. And there's no way of checking whether they've tried to come in before, because they don't apparently keep records. That's the point. And I mean, we've had this conversation before, and I had it with Alt Mehmet, who's from the Migration Watch organisation, who said, it's entirely possible that all of these figures that we've got are just really, really poor estimates of what's actually happening and how many people are actually coming in. Because we know, for example, that there's loads of areas of southeast England where you can land a boat, step out of it, run into the town, nobody's ever seen you or heard of you, and you're not going through border force, you're not going through any kind of immigration process. You're just basically arriving in Britain like a rogue sort of pirate. Might as well call them pirates as opposed to bleeding illegal migrants. It's just extraordinary, and nobody really knows the true numbers.
Well, the thing is as well, Mike, that you're right on that point, and not all the people coming over in these boats are paying these gangs the upfront money to basically come over on the boats. Many of them, and you see, I've seen some BBC reports on this, where basically you've seen kind of illicit products being sold in kind of under the counter in some of the independent shops across the country, because they come over and they put on the boats by gangs to come and work for the gangs in the UK. I've seen, people have been telling me about this, and that's part of the problem, that if you want to get...
They work their passage, right, basically, because the gangs say, right, you're going to get into Britain, you're going to go work for me in this arena, whether it's sex trafficking or drug dealing or vape shops or barbers shops, whatever it is. I mean, I'm going to talk to Donald McLeod in a minute from Glasgow, who had that terrible event the other day where a vape shop had a fire, which ended up destroying half of the city centre, and you can be absolutely bloody well sure that the people running that vape shop were probably not registered, probably not legal, and probably not in any way, assaulted by the fire department.
No, I did read somewhere, Mike, I don't know how accurate it was, but I did read that was unregulated as well, that vape store in Glasgow. So that's the problem. So all these people are coming over, and you hear people from the left, and the Green Party, people in the Labour Party, some of the Lib Dems. We've got Plaid Cymru in Wales, where they want like a nation of sanctuary for people coming over. They keep saying that, these are leaving war-torn countries. Well, people have clearly said the same thing for many, many years. They're in France. There's no war in France. So people are coming over here, going into the underground when they get here, working for these criminal gangs. And that's part of the problem. And the other big story, Mike, this week, which I think we just got to touch on, I know you were talking with Stephen yesterday, is this whole jury thing as well, that, there was another policy not in the Labour manifesto. They've had over 3,000 kind of lawyers, judges, people from the kind of the profession, from the legal profession, telling them it's a bad idea. They keep telling us that getting rid of jury trials will fix the backlog. Well, let's put some facts on it, Mike. That 1.3 billion 1.3 million, prosecutions a year. 10% of them go to a Crown Court. Of those, only 3 in 10 go to a jury because many will plead guilty. Juries are not the problem here. Juries have not created a backlog. It's the government and the inefficiencies, and again, the public sector.
The lawyers about this. One of the reasons why there's a backlog is because half the courts in this country are not operational, because they haven't got enough people to run them. So if they actually opened all the courts up, they could get through a hell of a lot more cases than they do at the moment. But at the moment, they shut down for so many months of the year. Some of them don't open at all. And then, of course, they run a short working day as well. You can't start before 10 o'clock in any court in this country, and you pretty much don't do much after 3. So they could start clearing the backlog by opening at 9 or maybe even 8 in the morning and going all the way through till 6.
Yeah, well, you could become a judge, Mike. You can do your Mike Graham show and then pop along after the show
and also I can tell when somebody's guilty just by looking at them. So it's not a problem for me. Anyway, listen, Jamie. Oh yeah, the poll. The poll today is, what is Keir Starmer's biggest shame? Because we can't believe he's still here and that he hasn't finally just been shamed into leaving after yesterday's Mandelson business, right? So Chagos Islands, 31% of the public think it's that. Lord Ali, which everyone's forgotten about, with his free spectacles and underpants, 4%. Southport riots, 44%. And the Mandelson scandal, 21%. I think a lot of people feel very, very betrayed by Starmer on all sorts of fronts. But I mean, the Southport thing probably was the worst.
Well, yeah, so putting my stats head on, Mike, and then seeing the kind of number of people as well who've gone to prison for public order offences and like speech offences since Starmer's come. I think that's got to be the one basically for me, Mike. And that's my choice of kind of the Starmer reason for this week.
All right, mate. Good to see you. Jamie Jenkins, thank you very much indeed. Jamie Jenkins, our favourite statistician, reporting in from Welsh Wales, down there in the south of the country. Coming up, Donald Cameron MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, MBE, no less, is going to be joining us. We'll talk to him about what's coming up in Scotland. Also, we'll be telling you how to get tickets for the new live show, which we're doing on May the 6th at Shepherd Bush Empire. We were out last night with one of the guys who... I think, did he say he used to own it or he used to run it, I think? There's a picture. What a great, that's rock and roll, that, isn't it? That is brilliant. Anyway, we're still feeling it a bit this morning, but luckily the quacking noise has stopped. It wasn't just in my head. Donald MacLeod coming next.
Don't you forget now to like and subscribe and all the socials out there, especially our YouTube channel, flannel.
Come on, you get that salt in the bloody.
Here we are. Yeah, come on. Yeah, well, pass it to me, all right? Because this is the poster. Pooch, I mean, the man who spins more plates than you've had hot dinners, right? This is the poster. Mike Graham and Friends, Wednesday, 6th of May, 2026.
Pins here.
We've got pins, but we haven't got a pin board. When Pooch has got a second, which will be about a week on Friday, we'll put it up. We could put it up behind me.
We might not pin into that.
No, it's a brick wall.
It's not fucking real brick, is it?
Can you not swear? It's a brick wall. Swearing demonetises the channel.
Not like that.
Yes, you're on the air. You're in a radio studio. Jesus Christ. How long have I known you? How long have we been doing this? I had you on my shows in 2006, right? That's 20 years ago. And I'd already known him about 5 years by then. Anyway, so listen, this is where you get tickets. Ticketmaster is where you get them. We've got plenty of tickets left, but we've got a good crowd coming. Quite a few hundred people. And Lewis MacLeod there, you see that man there. Yeah. He's Donald's brother. Very, very funny.
He doesn't swear, I should add, he
can swear in a live show, that's fine. But we discovered...
Listen, I can't believe we started this again. When I've watched you all week, you burst out with the odd swear word.
Yeah, well, no,
I was caught off guard there. I apologise to the viewers.
We discovered through the research department here at the Mike Graham Show that, in fact, it turns out that if you swear...
Is that push?
Yes. If you swear, he's also the maintenance department. He's also the answering the door department.
Yeah, I should know this. It's a part of it.
Yeah, exactly right. He does all the work. I just sit here and look pretty, and you just criticise us. I mean, that's basically the way it works. So no, we discovered that if you swear, they make you an over 18s only accessible a show, which means that you don't go into as many places as you would like to go, so you don't make as much money.
Well, why have you been swearing then?
Because I like swearing. I didn't know that.
Well, you didn't know. Well, I didn't know we were live on the show there.
All right, okay.
Okay.
Have you taken your medicine?
Going to put that poster up.
Yeah, anyway, listen. So that's the poster. Anyway, welcome to
Good
London.
morning.
Very nice to see you. Very nice to see you last night, and thank you for buying me dinner. As I said, I've worked out a new form of how to not pay, which is to basically just at the last minute before you order the bill, and then you get the toilet and you don't come back.
But you went to the wrong toilet, I hear. You went into the female's toilet.
Well,
to
the
do your
reason I
business.
did that was because I couldn't get into the male one, because I went in the male one and there was all occupied. And so, you know, when you have to go, you got to go.
You have to go.
People don't want to talk about this kind of thing in the morning, I'm sure. But anyway, the ladies' toilet was off limits because they'd closed it. There were no women in there. There were no women in there. So there's no problem there. And so I went in there, and it took a while to get in and out, as it sometimes can do.
What a place! What a place for that boys'
What a
house.
great place.
Absolutely.
I'm amazed that you've never been there.
Never.
Because it is a sort of Scottish restaurant run by Ranald.
Yeah, Ranald there. I'd never met him. And of course, Neil O'Brien's the person you were talking about.
Who's a good friend of ours. Good friend of Pooch's, actually, he said.
Yeah,
as well.
knows him, but he was the same. Why have you not been here? I'm going, no.
It's quite surprising in a way. But anyway, we had a good time. Let's talk about Glasgow, because when we had you on earlier in the week, it was after that terrible event, the fire in George Square. George Hotel pretty much destroyed. What's the latest kind of on whether, because I think Central Station is still shut, isn't it?
It's still shut, and it will be shut until they've carried out the checks because of the glass, the big glass roof, and it's all held up with steel. They need to check all that.
So if you take a train up to Glasgow now, where do you get off?
I think they're stopping in Motherwell, and then you get the bus replacement service. So just get a bus up, you know.
Right.
And so that's
you don't want to be hanging around in Motherwell for too long, by the way. Not anything personal, but you know what I mean.
I think the low level's still working.
Okay.
So that's coming in, but the delays are enormous. And
for so many people who used to, I mean, I used to be one of them. You take a train from Glasgow to Edinburgh because you work in Edinburgh or whatever. I mean, that's screwed.
Well, the biggest problem, of course, is you've got a lot of people commuting. You've got people coming in, obviously we want them coming in at night.
Yeah.
And they're, a lot of them are going, oh, I'm not going in there. I'm not waiting. And so it's stopping folk coming in. And as I say, it was between 70 and 130,000, depending on they come in a daily.
Right.
And you can see a massive chunk of them not coming in, obviously, for obvious reasons, because it's going to take them 2 hours. I heard the other day there, even getting a bus in from Paisley was 2.5 hours for some people.
Really?
Because of the congestion.
Crikey.
And the way, and
that's
also
ridiculous.
because when you hit Glasgow, it's like walking into a war zone because of the way the amount of streets that they've dug up, with the bike lanes getting put in, the Avenues project, and I was reading a good article this morning in the Glasgow Splash, and and that blaze, and it's saying the blaze that destroyed Forsyth House beside Glasgow Central Station should shock us all.
Yeah.
And it's not just because a historic corner of the city is going, but because it exposes a pattern of regularity, failure, mismanaged regeneration, and political complacency.
Yeah.
And that's Glasgow summed up.
Well, do you know what? It's Britain summed up, actually.
Yeah.
Because we are all in the same boat. Every single thing that you look at, and I say this a lot on this show, every single kind of Department of State is in decline. The borders are not being properly patrolled. We look at the situation with the ships.
We're the ferries.
Hi, fire service.
Yesterday or the day before. It's not going to get there for like a week.
Our bus replacement service.
There is a
We've got something like 10
happening
destroyers, all of them are in dry dock, getting fixed up. We've got 10 frigates, all of them in dry dock. We're not send an aircraft carrier.
And in Scotland, we have the £1 billion ferry scam.
Looking at the pictures here, that's where the fire started.
Yeah, well, the cat house is just further down from there.
I'm going to ask you about that in a second. That was the vape shop, which apparently was the site of the beginning of the fire. Nobody's quite sure what happened, but they think it might have been a dodgy battery, which is why they don't let you take vapes on planes, and because these are dangerous, unregulated things, and that's probably an unregulated shop. probably run by people who have come here who are illegal, very possibly.
Well, I don't know about the legality of the people there, but certainly there's no regulations they really need to have to open a vape shop, and that needs to be clamped down on.
And every town in the country has got at least one.
I've got one underneath the cat house.
Yeah, I was going to say, so the Cat House as a nightclub, which is one of your nightclubs, is that still closed? Or
it's closed at the moment.
And what does that cost to you?
Oh, it's well, if it closes at weekend, I'm not going to get into huge the sums, but tens of thousands of pounds.
And you've got to pay the people that work there, regardless of whether they...
No, at the moment, or move them hopefully into shifts at the garage. So we try and do that. But, it's a blow.
But it's a business that you're running that you can't run because of the fire.
Well, at the moment, what they've done at the bottom, they've sealed it off.
Right.
They've sealed it off another end of Union Street, across the road from Central Station, but further up. So there's even a club there, Tropicana.
Yeah.
It's, it can't open. And then we're going to wait until they do the safety checks to see if the walls are going to fall down, bounce across, which is okay, I get all that.
Yeah.
But I just think that when Glasgow City Council get involved, time slows.
Everything goes
But I did laugh the other day there, with the vape shop, and when somebody cracked out and said, "I love the smell of hazelnut, vanilla and eucalyptus in the morning."
Yeah, I know.
And I was like, what?
It's just
but that shop, people tried to put it out unsuccessfully, but apparently there was a bank, and this is all, it could well be hearsay, we don't know, but there was a bank of chargers all running, and there was actually a heater on as well. So when you think these vape fluids, highly incendiary, minute one of them goes off, and
you can't, then you can't put it out because it's an electric fire,
and you don't throw water on it.
With electric cars, with electric anything. When you see an electric car on fire, it's one of the most toxic and dangerous fires you've ever seen.
Yes,
partly because of the fact that
remember the car park. Remember the car park?
Luton Airport. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Lithium plus water gives off hydrogen, hence boom. Says Swordfish. Well,
didn't know that.
I'll take your word for that. But this is why, for example, in London now, you're not allowed to take those electric scooters or electric bikes onto the underground. You're not allowed to take them.
Some ferries across. I know you don't know where Finland is, but they actually banned.
I don't know why you've decided to have a go at me about that.
No.
I tried to get it. It's there.
Let me point it out. But Finland, apparently in Finland, they've banned cars in a lot of the ferries, electric vehicles going on.
They have,
because
they've also. I think they've banned them as well on the ferry that goes from Germany to Sweden, I think, from like Malmo to Lübeck or something like that,
And why? Because the fire risk, because they can't put the fires out.
Exactly.
But one thing that's I'm a bit disturbed about is that whereas the cat house is down the bottom of the street, the fire's at the top. Okay, we're closed until they do the checks. I think these checks are going to take ages. But in the middle, there was a hotel named the Rennie Mackintosh Hotel.
I know that place.
Oh, the Rennie Mackintosh Hotel is actually a homeless migrant hotel.
Oh, is it? Ah. Is that still open?
It's open.
Oh, there you go.
So it's okay.
So it's all right for them.
It's okay. They're allowed to. But you know what I mean? If it's dangerous, doesn't matter if you're a migrant, homeless, or anybody.
Right.
If it's dangerous, why are you living?
I know.
Why are you giving a bed for the night? I know it's Smouldering's just up the road, but you'll be okay.
But you'll be okay.
It's absolutely that's shocking.
That you'll probably be okay. It's like everywhere I go. This morning I came into work. There was a traffic jam on the Old Kent Road at 5:30 this morning. It was as big a traffic jam as you'll get every single hour of the day. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? Turns out they've got it down to one lane. They've got a temporary traffic light. I'm going... everywhere I drive, there's a temporary traffic light. It's like they found out the way I go, and then the next day there's a temporary traffic light.
It's terrible.
It's ridiculous.
And this Glasgow is that you drive in, you can't basically move around the city in your car because they basically want you to stop using your car and walk or cycle, and maybe, as you were talking about earlier, get a horse and clip about.
I'd rather have a horse than a bicycle, to be honest. But I don't know where to tie it up.
Have you seen me in a horse? I fell off when the last time, started sliding off it. I can't get back up.
But that's the trouble with horses. I mean, you can't really... I once went to Montana, right, to do... Do you remember Patrick Duffy, who was in Dallas, the guy who came out of the shower and it was all, dream?
Well,
I was not. But his parents, right, lived in this little towny town in Montana. I can't remember the name of it. It was outside of Helena, Montana, which is where I flew to. And some guy broke into they had a bar, came into their bar, shot them dead, and took all the money, right, ran away. I went to this town, and it's the only place, it's the only airport I've ever been where you hired a car, and they gave me a Toyota sports car and apologised. They said, "We're really sorry, Mr. Graham. We only have a sports car for you." I'm like, "That's
what a
fine.
shame, never
That's
mind.
all right.
I want my money back."
Because everyone out there drives a SUV, you know. So I get out to this town, and it was like one of those old Wild West towns where they had the wooden sort of balustrades outside of every shop to tie your horse up. And people would come.
Did you tie the car up for the laugh?
People were. I mean, I stopped the car, and there were people tying horses up, and I was like, "You actually do this still now in this day and age?"
You're like that.
I know, amazing, and it was a fantastic area. It's worth going on holiday. I mean, have you ever seen Yellowstone?
I watched it.
It's a bit like that, and there's all these like disused tin mines and stuff around. You know, this really mountainous.
Couldn't live there.
A lot of snow.
Couldn't
the
live
thing
there.
I did do though with the car. And I can't imagine how I would have done this, but it had a sunroof, and I left the sunroof open and went into the hotel for the night. I woke up in the morning, it was about 6 foot of snow. And the car had about this much snow inside it. And I had to take it back and go, "Can I have another car, please? This one's full of
You just
snow."
raked.
This
You
one's
raked
full
the
of
car.
snow.
They did not give you a horse at that point.
I know, exactly right. Now,
so
what should we do? Talk about. So we're going to talk to Alan Miller in a minute, but should we talk about the show, the live show? Because
Leave Donald in, talk to Alan.
no, we can come back to Donald if you want. Was that what you prefer?
Yeah, get Alan on.
All right, we'll get Alan on because he's doing something with you as well at the garage, isn't he?
Yes,
So we can talk about that too. So hold your horses. Let's get Alan Miller on from the Together Declaration. Alan Miller, very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Mike.
I think this is the first time the three of us have been in the same place.
I can't hear him.
I was just thinking. I saw that photo of you guys last night, and I was gutted I didn't get an invite. I'm not sure I would have made it in looking as bright and sharp as you two.
Well, listen, we've been doing this, I'm afraid, for longer than I care to remember. I met Donald in about 2003 or something like that. And, we're much better behaved now than we used to be, but there we are.
No, can't be.
Let's talk, first of all, before we mention your event at the garage in Glasgow, about digital ID, because it seems to be popping up again. It seems as though this government are trying to sort of shuffle it in, herald it in through the back door. What's your sort of take on it all?
Yeah, well, Darren Jones has been very clear, isn't he? I mean, as clear as you can be when you contradict yourself daily, which is originally digital ID was allegedly to stop illegal migration, illegal working. Then that was jettisoned when everyone ridiculed it and talked about Italy and France and Germany all having biometric ID and not stopping illegal migrants. And then now they're telling us it's all about dealing with red tape and making everything easier. This is from a government that loves bureaucracy, imposing more laws and rules on us all the time, not least in terms of the net zero arena with Mad Ed Miliband and what we've been talking about, what you guys have just been talking about in Glasgow, but locally and nationally in terms of all sorts of measures that limit and restrict trade and business and our activity. And so the irony of Darren Jones now coming out and saying, well, you know what, we're going to have it anyway. I know we said we're not going to have it mandatory for work, but this is just going to make life easier. And we're going to have a citizens group of people, 100, the good 100, that are going to be like the consultants on this. And there is a wider consultation. And I just say, Mike, that many of your viewers and listeners and many of the great British public keep doing consultations. We keep having making our voice heard. It is important. We do tell MPs and councillors, people are fed up with saying the same thing, giving the same instruction and being gaslit and lied to. And this basically is what's happening. What they're saying is we don't care what you think and say, but we want to impose something that's going to mean there's going to be surveillance, there's going to be potential restrictions like we've seen with debanking. We're going to have more facial recognition. We're going to make sure that children all have a unique digital identifier, that all directors have to sign in via one login, none of which was in any manifesto. And we've seen all the issues with Labour Together with McSweeney. It's all over the front pages at the moment. What's happened with Starmer, also with Lammy. And yet here we are, people at Labour Together and along with the Blair Institute, having come up with this terrible idea that every time there's an issue we have to address, whether it's the borders, whether it's potholes, whether it's infrastructure, or dealing with crime, hey presto, we're going to have digital ID. And what it really means is it's going to start treating everybody as though we're all walking barcodes, that we're all potential criminals to be surveyed and listened to. Remember, Liz Kendall oversaw the ability for people to go into unelected people, no transparency, into our bank accounts at the Department of Work and Pensions. She's also, by the way, even though it was good that the vote in Parliament said that for now, no ban on under 16s on social media, they've created caveats to say that she can still impose those measures anyway. So across the board, we've got a situation where this government, which is not fit for purpose, which is actually very damaging and harmful, that keeps imposing more and more measures to restrict us, is now just saying, we don't care. We're going to formally go through this process, but frankly, we all know it's got to happen. And so what we're saying at the Together Declaration and the Together Association is that we must have the ability not to have to verify to participate. It's outrageous. You have to pay for an account. And if you're a tiny business or you've just started up, why should you be forced to have an accountant just so that you don't have to do one login? But that's the situation. So you can still avoid one login for the time being, but you have to have an ACSP. That's not participating as normal. And as we go down the line, they're going to try and force this ever more. Now, one other thing about this, because I know that people say, well, we use our phones for other things. In the commercial sphere, if people choose to use their phone to do things, that's entirely up to them. But we've got to have the ability to do things in the analog world. In the commercial sphere, even though you've got big tech and there's been some very concerning things with them, is different to the state having an all-encompassing purview to survey and track and oversee what you're doing. But it should also be noted, Mike, that the head of the Banking of International Settlement said, well, we love the digital moment. We love the idea of central bank digital currency using digital ID because it means we can track every single transaction. And really, in the end, this is what this is about. It's about the concerns around surveillance and control, but also the hundreds of millions of data breaches just this year that have been happening, that we've seen everything from Jaguar Land Rover to Heathrow to all sorts of measures and things like the
They
Horizon.
even hacked Donald McLeod's account. We haven't talked about that, but we will.
Yeah, we'll get that, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? And the fact is that, as you say, Alan, all of this is happening without anybody ever voting for it. Nobody ever said, this is what we're going to do. And everyone went, oh, great, okay, then in that case, I'll just tick that box and go, thank you very much indeed. They're kind of operating without any mandate whatsoever, aren't they?
They've got no mandate for it. In fact, the British public have been fairly consistent with what people want to see. And, often we've been ignored, which is why so much of this populism that's happening, and I think, by the way, the populism is a good thing.
Yeah.
But that's why this is happening, because we've been ignored, we're being gaslit, and we're being lied to consistently. And you see, it's being framed in certain ways. But, it was never in a manifesto. It was never discussed openly. And what we've seen is, I think we're up to 16 U-turns now with a government that's not fit for purpose. And I think, though, that it's what's really important, and I'll share it when we do a post to this as well, but the Digital Bill of Rights, the whole point about having the ability not to have to verify to participate, it wasn't just that when Churchill said, we don't do that, having ID cards, it's not the British way. The British public, time and again, have not wanted this. And, if politicians and leaders are going to get on with dealing with things, they absolutely should do that for infrastructure, for border control, for improvement in efficiency in the health, big discussion about what happens with health provision. But the idea that what's going to be a silver bullet is digital ID is just farcical. And I must say as well, on this point of democracy and sort of linking it to your show with Donald, I mean, what's happened in Glasgow is reflective of what's been happening in Britain, where green billionaires have been underwriting projects in locally with people like UK 100 who pretend to be grassroots organisations, heavily funded cycle organisations with very few public involved, unlike Together, where we've got our mandate is from the public and individuals. They have people like Christopher Hone and Mike Bloomberg backing them, and they circumvent going through Parliament, and they go to local authorities and pump these projects to do things like low traffic neighbourhoods. And even though the Department of Transport has pushed it as well, we managed across Britain with everyone campaigning to get them to stop funding Liverpool streets, but Labour's carried on with it. But in places like Glasgow, they bombard local councillors and officers with the lobbying to try and implement these things. And there's been no proper consultation. And actually, when there is any consultation, they ignore people, as we've seen time and again. And it's suffocating and killing our cities and culture, destination hubs, what makes Scotland and Britain so great. I mean, you think about Glasgow, the reputation of it being such a fantastic city, music, culture, the arts, all being part of it. Obviously, people know Edinburgh Festival, but, you know, that's all great. It happens, let's say, for a month with all the festivals. But, you know, throughout the year, this is the thing that keeps people employed, keeps a place dynamic and fresh and exciting. And they're suffocating all these things on purely spurious terms. And this is why with our Take Back Democracy tour and what we're going to go do with Donald in Glasgow, it's a fantastic venue at the Garage. But across Scotland and Wales, we've got a series of events. We had one yesterday in Swansea at Cinema & Co. And across England and in Ireland, we're getting the public to come to events, to do calls to action with people who are going to stand as councillors and say these key issues around net zero, around saying no to net zero, digital ID, about being open, having investment and productivity, not limits and restrictions, free speech. These things are essential, and that the public have to have our voices heard, because these technocrats have been limiting and suffocating and shutting things down, and we really need to stop that now.
I like to just cut in there. You were talking about, you know, the lack of democracy. You know, it's shocking. But you've got to think where I come from in Scotland. We have another layer there, and it's called the Scottish government. You know, so it's wedged in between the local authorities, Scottish government, and UK government. All of them are guilty. All of them are guilty of it. They are squeezing it. It's squeezing the people, as you say, gaslighting us. Introducing these LTNs slowly, but it's mission creep, isn't it? I mean, they just bring them in. Suddenly they're there. You can't go down a road. Oh, why not? Oh, yeah, right. The locals are reclaiming it. Nothing, not one of these things was ever put to the electorate an election. Sustrands, the millions that have been given to them to tear up our streets and to turn bike lanes in. I like cycling, but do we need Deliveroo expressways all the way through every town and city? No, we don't. And it's just, as I say, mission creep. So, you know, and I'm looking forward to the event in Scotland, but we have another layer, so we're worse.
Yeah.
You know, we're getting the worst.
Devolution, the problem has been at the level of appearance. I really understand why people in Scotland, people in Wales and elsewhere will look at things and think those guys in Parliament. It's a bit like the discussion that they had about the Beltway in DC. And I really understand that sense of disgust and being let down and ignored by Westminster. But you see, the people in England have the same feeling. And the issue has been that it's been circumvented into this discussion about devolution, and then having more bureaucrats and people up there using that argument quite often to then pursue their own goals. And we've seen through lockdowns and on other issues, right, what that's meant in Scotland and in Wales. I mean, some really disastrous situations. And the idea of proper full accountability, transparency and democracy has not come through with that devolution. And there's a constant attempt by this Labour administration and bureaucrats to keep pushing that even further. That's really the impetus around more mayors everywhere, is in a sense to not be under the scrutiny and the ability to the cut and thrust of what happens in Parliament. And I know there's a lot of problems with Parliament, but you only have to listen to Keir Starmer, who said he prefers Davos to the hustle of Westminster and Parliament, because there is formally there a sense that you can all be held accountable on a national level.
Is there any party, Alan, that's listening to you? I mean, listening to your well-formed arguments.
Really,
Is there anybody coming forward and saying?
I've got to say, they all have listened. I'll give you some examples, right? So the Lib Dems may not say they like us, but they've listened all around the southeast and southwest, because in Bath and Bristol and a range of areas, we've done a load of campaigns challenging these low emission zones, the low traffic neighbourhoods, bollards, and we've had people, actually the public engaged in challenging leaflets, door to door, holding events, and putting them under pressure, right? So they know about us in the same way that this government knows all about us. Ironically, there's an event that's being promoted called Together Coalition on the 28th of March. I mean, you know what Warhol said about flattery being the best form, about imitation.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they're doing that because against the kind of populist impulse. And it's all sorts of organisations that really, they were there, for instance, many trade unions who I must say that during lockdowns were nowhere to be seen representing their members when they didn't want to have
100%. Shocking.
And then, of course, the Conservatives know all about us, and the Green Party definitely knows about us. And we were when the Gorton and Denton by-election went on, we were up there campaigning against net zero and talking to people, proper grassroots. I must say they had some good ground game there. But and then and reform, and I must say that reform is a very refreshing new moment. It's a kind of seismic shock to the British United Kingdom's political establishment. And I think that the public are ahead of everyone. There are obviously some other new parties as well. I mean, they're very small. I don't know what's happening with everything with them, but there's a lot of noise on what people call the right between like Restore and Advance and all of that. But Reform have hundreds of councillors already, and they're looking like they're going to get many hundreds more. They're saying that they will get rid of net zero, certainly supporting agriculture and the farmers, against digital ID, scrapping IHT, on infrastructure, on the borders, on a range of different issues. They're saying the things that the majority of the British public definitely want. And we have been doing white papers and putting forward our policies to them and others. We've got some more news coming out on digital ID, and we've got some more stuff coming out on net zero. We did two very big pieces of work on net zero and on so-called clean air with Ben Pyle that held Sadiq Khan to account about basically lies. They tried to get the scientific evidence tampered with. Those people that kept saying the science, the science, the science, they tried to get the evidence tampered with because they didn't like the results, because this discussion about clean air and low emission zones and low traffic neighbourhoods is completely nonsense. So we did a couple of really big pieces of work, which honestly got completely fact-checked by everyone. And the Telegraph took a long time till they published it, because I think everyone was so gobsmacked and nervous that this couldn't quite be exactly true. And so we're constantly doing things with different representatives from our cabinet on social care and on other areas. And around net zero, low emission zones, low traffic neighbourhoods is particularly an issue. We've been told by Reform that they will dispense with them in local authorities. And also if you look at Kent and other areas where they already are, they've done things like unannounced. They've announced that the climate emergency is no longer an emergency. So
well, this is the thing that they do, though, right? Because and it's good that they're doing that, because, as you say quite rightly, Alan, they tell you to follow the science, and then they cheat the science, and they go, well, look, it was like the hockey stick graph scenario, wasn't it, from East Anglia University?
Twice with the clean air.
Where they just literally make, I mean, Sadiq Khan's done it as well, where he's trying to make out that the air is cleaner in London now, thanks to his, incredible revolutionary idea of making the traffic sit for longer at traffic lights, because, the traffic lights don't actually change to green very often. And it's not true. And then they try and make out that, well, we've got the scientific evidence to prove how much better the world is because of what we've done, and it's complete and utter cobblers. But anyway, listen, Alan, we've got to move on. Tell us a bit about what you're doing with Donald in Glasgow later on in the month, and then we'll talk a bit about. I'm going to see you tomorrow night at another event, which is also a Together inspired scenario. So tell us a bit about those two things.
Yeah, well, the second one I'm not talking about because it's all hush, Mike. But
oh, is it?
or it's
Sorry.
all secret squirrel. But you've blown
Well,
that one
luckily I
now.
didn't give too much away.
We'll have to cancel that. So yes, we're really excited about Glasgow. It's one of my favourite cities and places. I don't want to get into stereotypes, but there's so many important things that have happened there. And actually, not for live music, but also for dance music, which I was involved with for 30 years. Glasgow's been a really, really essential hub and anchor for all of that. And we saw some terrible things like clubs being closed down, and then through our conversations in my previous incarnation, at the end when I co-founded the NTI and other things, we explained to Police Scotland how important these hubs are, and working together and not treating businesses as though they're the enemy. And we were very successful at getting people around the table and stakeholders. And now we've got a situation where technocrats are shutting down high streets and hospitality and retail and small and medium-sized enterprises, which is the backbone of Britain, along with agriculture. It's the backbone. It's our communities. It's where things happen. It has a multiplier effect, regenerating, bringing in tourists. And if you look at Glasgow now and what's happened with, even if you want to get cabs from outside into Glasgow with, bike lanes where there's no one on, and then the problems with traffic and the zones, it's a disaster, right? And it's had a material impact on businesses. And so that's going to be something that
Donald converted here.
That's going to be
who's the other speakers you've got? You've got some fantastic.
Yeah, so
speakers
we've got
than
Donald.
myself.
Obviously, we've got Michael Bergson, who's very, very well known in hospitality and much respected in Glasgow and internationally. We've got the We Glasgow project poet, and she's going to be doing some poems. She's great. You can see her big on TikTok and elsewhere, but she's going to be joining us. We've got Maggie Oliver, who's going to be doing a special one-on-one with me about what her work has meant with the whole rape crisis of young women and the rape gangs. And that's part of the Take Back Democracy tour. You see about bravery and about the public and citizens engaged and doing things and showing inspiration. And so what it's going to be a night of that where we get the public to come and be engaged and talk and discuss. And it's going to be live streamed as well, so we'll share it. But we're excited about that. That's on the 25th of March in Glasgow, and we'd love everyone to come and join us for it.
All right, brilliant stuff. Great, and I won't see you, obviously, soon.
Just to say on that, we're doing things all around the country all the time, right? A lot of people like to make noise on social media, and that's good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that. But that's one part of it. It's a tactic within a strategy, within a plan. And at Together, we have a 360 approach, which is that we need to be across the board. That means having flyers given out on streets, knocking on doors, going to local shops, being around communities. It means organising meetings, calling councillors, visiting councillors, sending emails, calls to action, doing the same with politicians and with institutions, whether it's Companies House and what's going on with Department of Science and Technology around digital ID, or whether it's around the NHS, or wherever else it's Department of Transport. If you look at what we did with debanking and the FCA and the Bank of England, keeping cash, but tens of thousands writing into consultations, we've got to do the same. I'll share a link about the digital ID consultation. We've got to keep doing this on that. And so we're doing that alongside press and doing events, local, regional, national events. And then that's all leading up to, as we go through Wales and Scotland and England, to the 25th of April, Saturday, the 25th of April, just over a week before the May elections. We've got a Four Nations big rally and protest against digital ID and to take back democracy. So we'll be in London. We will be outside the Senedd in Cardiff. We'll be outside Holyrood in Edinburgh and in Belfast. And the whole idea is that the public keeps getting involved, making our voices heard, because those councillors and those MPs, when they feel the thrust and the arguments and the letters and the emails and the calls from constituents, and they know that they'll be voted in and out or on these issues, that's really important. But we say, don't just do that. Get involved, become a local leader, put up posters, get leaflets, invite people to get involved, get your workmates, colleagues, friends on your street, get local groups going over, as well as social media, but it's across the board. And that's what we're doing, and we're going to continue to do that. And we're very inspired by what we've seen, by people taking a lot of measures. We've just seen in Croydon, there's had to be a payout for people, and there's going to have to be a challenge. Sorry, there's a challenge that's been won by people around LTNs. We've seen other payouts in different places. We know that in places like Birmingham, many people have challenged and appealed and won appeals on the clean air zones. Of course, this government's trying to stop appeals and jury trials. So that's another part of the thing we're campaigning against. The main thing is that we're saying that in the end, we have to depend on ourselves to hold everyone accountable. So whilst these new populist things are really good, we're also saying we need to be organised, we need to be vigilant, and we need to make sure we keep having our voices heard to represent ourselves together.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Alan, great to see you. Thanks very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us. Alan Miller from the Together Declaration there. Great guy. Yeah. We've got much to talk about. Do you know... before we move on, have we done the news? We haven't done the news yet, have we? We've got to do the news. Are we going to get the talking news or the non-talking news? No. Lisa Tarbuck has announced she's stepping down from her BBC Radio 2 show.
No.
I mean, the world mourns, right? I know. We're obviously having some kind of shake-up in the BBC. You know this idea we've had, which I think is going to be a great one, and we're going to launch it soon. We're going to get people to tear up their BBC licence, and we're going to issue them with a new licence for the Mike Graham show, and it's only $4.99 a month, so it's a third of the cost, right? Some people, when I said it last week, said, Mike Graham's going to make you buy a licence to watch his show. No, that's not what I'm doing, right? No, what we're saying is that it's just it's a sort of a Mickey take of the BBC to say that, they make you pay 174 quid to watch them. We're going to say, we're not making you do anything, but you can watch us and get access to all sorts of exclusive material for $4.99 a month, which would be amazing. Jane says, buy some batteries, Pooch, and Mike open some gifts. Now, there's a good idea. Pooch, can we open some gifts in the next sort of 20 minutes or so before the show ends? Tough poll this morning, Mike, says Matthew. Starmer should be ashamed of his entire premiership. Every one of them has been a disgrace. How is he still Prime Minister? Should we have a look at what the poll is saying? The question on the poll today is, what has been Keir Starmer's biggest scandal? Was it in fact the Mandelson problem, or was it the Southport riots? Was it Lord Alley, or was it Chagos Islands? And at the moment, Southport riots. That's a big number as well, 6,225 votes. That's
is there end boys on that?
No. That would not be possible to put on because obviously that's a sub judice. Sub judice that you can't be. It's a live case, right?
Oh, is it?
So thanks for coming on. And
so you're not even allowed to mention that there was rent boys staying in his house.
No, they weren't staying in his house.
Was it not his house?
No.
Where was it?
No.
Whose house was it?
No, they firebombed his old house.
It's just been popped off YouTube.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
No, we haven't.
Anyway, thanks for coming in. It costing us money, and we're now going to be sued. Other than that, let's get some news with Edward Hughes.
Good morning, I'm Edward Hughes with your news. Fresh documents released today reveal Prime Minister Keir Starmer was warned of serious reputational risk before appointing Lord Peter Mandelson as US Ambassador. Due to his past ties to Jeffrey Epstein, Mandelson, sacked last year, reportedly sought a £500,000 severance payout. In politics, at Prime Minister's questions, Starmer accused Conservative leader Kimi Badenoch of the mother of all U-turns over her shifting stance on UK involvement in the Iran conflict, after earlier calling for Britain to join US-Israeli strikes. The government is reviewing fuel duty rises planned for September amid global energy instability from the Middle East tensions, with Chancellor Rachel Reeves hinting at targeted support for households facing higher costs. Elsewhere, MPs have launched an inquiry into student loans amid concerns over graduate debt burdens. Regulators are pressing social media giants to strengthen age checks for under-13s to protect children online. And weather-wise, wind warnings are in place as colder conditions and even some mountain snow move south later this week. That's your UK headlines roundup. Stay tuned for more updates. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
Well, at least he didn't call me Mikey Boy today, which is or Mick, which is obviously an improvement.
He'll be calling you tomorrow.
He's going to be calling me that tomorrow. Yeah. You're fired. Now, We've got a couple of things to do before we get to 9:30, obviously. One of them is to play a couple more clips that we haven't played you so far. And this is about yesterday's doings in Parliament, right? Because we've already played you what Jeremy Corbyn had to say about Peter Mandelson. And we've also seen what Sky News had to say. Let's have a look at what James Cleverly had to say.
Frankly, the Prime Minister's defence, as was explained to the House by Darren Jones earlier on today, was that Peter Mandelson lied to the Prime Minister, and that's how he got through this process. But bearing in mind, the Prime Minister makes great store of the fact he was Director of Public Prosecutions. He was a prosecution barrister, and if prosecution barristers can be outmaneuvered just because someone lied a little bit, that shows something worrying. And the final point is, if this appointment only happened because Peter Mandelson lied repeatedly and convincingly to the Prime Minister, why make a payout when he was fired?
I want to come on to the payout because one of the things we learned today is that Peter Mandelson asked for more than £500,000 as his payout. In other words, the rest of his contract in a single payment. Now, that's been taken down to, £75,000. Still a lot. But it's an astonishing thing, given what had happened, given what was going on with his reputation, for him to ask for.
Well, one thing we know about Peter Mandelson, again, reinforced by these files, is the chutzpah on him, I probably pronounced that wrong, is huge. So the fact he asked for this outrageous sum of money is unsurprising. The fact the government paid him a single penny is frankly amazing, because if he lied to get the job, then the government should have taken him to court, would have won, and would have not had to pay him a penny. I suspect the government paying Mandelson anything at all is a tacit admission that it was the government that fell short, and what we know from these documents is the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary at the time, David Lammy, were warned about the risk, and they went ahead with the appointment anyway.
James Foley there talking to LBC. A couple of super chats. One from Ed, who says, Mick, I have Churchill on my phone screensaver.
that's
People are just going to start doing it now, aren't they? Well, you know, we can all play the same game. I just won't read them out. You've got Mick on it. I'm not reading it. Watching at 3 a.m. in Dallas, Texas. I love that. Dallas, Texas. Where's me board? Hang on. I know where Dallas is. Right. We're going to get this out here.
Where's Donald can't help himself.
Yeah, but I think that's true. Here we are. Dallas is about there. There we go. Dallas, Texas. Very nice. Also, Cindy says, can you please read out my super chat? I don't know if we've missed out on one of Cindy's super chats, but Cindy, who's watching us from Michigan in the US of A, who sends us super chats every single day, which is great. There you go. Mike, you should have a swear jar with money going to a dog and cat charity. By the way, I love your hair. Grow it longer. Metal Mike. You see, people do. Women like my hair longer. You know, you've got longer hair, haven't you?
Yeah, but I shoot it.
Well, you say that. Well, we could do a poll on that, if you like, and see whether anybody thinks Donald looks better with longer hair or no hair. We shall see.
Yeah, ask Donald if he knows this person. Does he know James Clerk Maxwell?
Oh, do you know what? Einstein, does he not mean Epstein?
Einstein had 3 pictures on his...
Oh, no, sorry, I thought, when I read that earlier, I thought it was Epstein. Yeah. Einstein had 3 pictures on his wall, Newton, Faraday and Clerk Maxwell, and said the greatest of those was Maxwell, on the shoulders of giants.
James Clerk Maxwell.
See, I'd never heard of James Clerk Maxwell.
Of all time.
I'd never heard of him until today.
Mathematician.
Who is he? He's a mathematician.
And physicist.
And physicist.
And I'm going to have heard of him.
Well, you might have done, I don't know. Who would you say is the greatest Scotsman?
James Clerk Maxwell.
Well, that's what Pooch says. What about you?
No, I don't know.
You don't know who the greatest Scotsman is?
The greatest Scotsman's me.
You see, this is what I have to put up with. It's not easy out there, right? The only good thing is that he's not in Scotland messaging me saying, this sounds crap. Anyway, here's the thing. We're going to open some presents, right? I've got one here, which has come in from Dave and Sue Sanderson, and it's from Herne Bay. Do you know where Herne Bay is? It's in Kent. Right?
Herne Bay or Herne?
Well, this is. You see, you've already spoiled the joke now. So now, not only has he demonetised us, he's got us into trouble with the law. He's now ruined this message. Our town symbol is a heron. right? Nothing in the name to do with herons. Herne, the village, gets its name from the ancient word for corner or bend, which is Herne. The town was founded in 1833 when the heron appeared on the town crest. Something to dry your mugs on. And she sent in, and this is from Dave and Sue Sanderson,
what are you doing, Pitch?
Look at this, a lovely tea towel, right? Check this, all right? We can dry our eyes with this when we get too upset. Look at that, Herne Bay. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
If I
keep it,
I'll do that. Next time I go into town, I'll just wear a mask.
Put it in your head.
Yeah, that'll be good. You got some stuff for us there. Would you open that?
Yeah,
Tell us
well, we'll
what's,
do. Yeah,
try and keep it clean if you can.
This is to Mike, Push, and Charlotte, and I don't know what this is, and it's from Tony Hagan. Tony, you made my family's day opening the box I sent you with the golden heron, and even
That's the one
reading out
behind
my
you.
letter. Fame at last.
That's the one behind you, the golden heron.
That one. Would you?
Well, that's not a heron, though. Oh, you mean the big one over there?
Yeah.
Next to your crane.
That's a crane. That's a crane. Mine's is a heron. I'm going to start that again. And you say that 3D printing is above your pay scale. It really isn't. And I'd like to prove it by mansplaining. I nearly said something else there. In a few words as I can manage on a separate pages enclosed with this letter, which are probably better considered off air.
Okay.
As is the enclosed image. Aye, which I will explain in the text. Hopefully you're feeding the herons.
So that's the explanation of 3D printing. Well, that's exactly why I don't do it. Well, look at that. I mean, look at the size of that. I'm not reading that. You know, people say to me, you know,
Tony, I think you better go back to the laboratory and get it sorted out, mate.
People say to me, have you read any books lately? And I'm like, no. Oh, look, there's the Herne Bay crest, by the way. I forgot to show you that.
That's a crane.
It's a heron. It's a heron. It's not called Crane Bay, right? But people say to me, have you read any good books lately? No. And the reason I don't read any books is because I read all the time. You know, so reading for me is actually not a relaxation at all. If I go on holiday, I want to lie on a sunbed. I don't want to read a book because I'm on a holiday from reading anything. Because I literally read thousands of words a day. What have you got there?
This is a belter.
What's that?
Notice to owner, penalty charge notice information.
What is it?
Oh,
Don't show the address.
you're not paying your parking again. Oh dear.
Who's that addressed to, though?
Well, actually, it's a Mr. Ryan William Bowman.
Oh, it's not us.
No,
It's not us. Oh, we've just opened somebody else. So I've opened somebody else's mail.
Hang on. What's the address, though?
No, don't show the address.
No, just show it to me. Don't read it out. Show it to me. So that's come to our office address.
Yep.
Right? How bizarre. That's weird, isn't it?
Should we give them it and let them
It's
know
from
that?
Plymouth City Council.
Wow.
Right? How the hell have they got our address?
Well, they were being here before us.
Has somebody registered? Oh, yeah, that's possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody's registered. Isn't that weird?
Oh, here's another one.
I mean, it's the first penalty charge notice. It's not mine. Is that another one?
No, well, it's not for you anyway.
Oh, okay. Redirection, second class.
Yep, that's for you.
Okay. All right. Let me open that one then. Let's see what we got here. Yep. This is from. Oh, it's a stamped address envelope. So
I've got one here for you as well. There's another one.
That's for a.
That's for your bumper sticker.
So the bumper sticker. Actually, we should do this, Pooch, if you don't mind. If you want a bumper sticker, right, do send us a stamped address envelope, but send it to the other address, which is the Mike Graham Show, PO Box 257, Battle, East Sussex, TN33 3FS. Do you know what we should do? We should tell the story of when Donald and his wife came down to Sussex, and they came to visit us basically, and rented an Airbnb house. It was one of these places where you'll love this, Pooch. It was built for sort of dwarfs basically, and so every time
everybody in the medieval
he
days
smacked his head on the ceiling. And so I went round there to pick them up one day to bring them over for lunch or dinner or something. He was wearing a crash helmet.
She actually gave you a crash helmet when you arrived. You're going to find the ceiling's a bit low in here.
What are you doing?
And,
She's like, I've got a crash helmet.
and they gave me it wasn't a crash, a hard hat.
Yeah.
And the minute I walked in, I went, "Ba-dum." And she was right. And we ended up, most of the 3 days that we managed to even stay there, eating outside in the rain, not even going in.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it was like that.
I went in and I nearly hit my head, and I'm not that tall, but both Donald and his missus are quite tall. It's ridiculous. I mean, that was the thing. I remember going to, I think it was it Carnarvon or somewhere, they've got the world's smallest house in somewhere in Wales.
Well, I don't know. This one competes.
This one's very close, but this was similar. And the front door was literally, it was about that high. Because people in the old days, people that was
they were all tiny.
They were tiny, yeah. How about this? All right. Just a quick note to inquire if you received a tie we sent you on the 20th of February. We did hear you say that you had received a couple of ties, but I'm not sure if one is ours. We sourced it from America, and it took a while to arrive. This is from Pauline and Andy Davis. If it has not arrived, we will contact the Royal Mail. So identify the parcel. Our card in the package included a rhyme starting with a dark cloud. Hope you have received it. Well,
that's a rack of them there, isn't it?
These are the heron ties that I've got, right? Congratulations on reaching 16,000 on Friday, onwards and upwards. This came in 27th of February, from Stowmarket, Pauline and lovely part of the world. So these are the heron ties. This one is the one that I wore, I think, for the Plank of the Week last week. This one's quite nice. This is made by Frederick Thomas. Yes. And I thanked Frederick Thomas for that tie, but it turned out it was a mistake. It was actually, they're the people that made it. This is the one that we got most recently, which I might wear today, actually, for Plank of the Week, right? And I've got two ties similar. I wore this one a couple of Mondays ago because this came from the people who run a rather nice little kind of fishing farm resort, which Emma Wolf goes to a lot, and so she's asked me to wear that, so I wore that, and I've got another one of those, and I'm not quite sure who sent that, and then so I don't know whether
it all ties in.
It all ties in. Thank you, very good. And then this is another one here, which has got fish as well as herons on it. And I'm not so. Hopefully, that's one of those would be yours, Pauline and Andy Davis, I think. But I can't tell you what the message said or what the original envelope said. But we will wear all. I wear all those. I've worn 3 of them already. I'll wear that one today. And so we'll try and make sure that heron ties are breeding, says Swordfish. Hopefully, that will be something we can deal with. Let's talk about Shepherd's Bush, shall we?
Yes, let's do that. Yeah,
because you can buy tickets on Ticketmaster.
Where's the poster? Where's the poster?
The poster is down here. Hang on.
Have you not stuck up on the wall yet, Butch? Come on.
Because he's a bit busy at the moment producing the show. So there's the poster. Hey. And it's going to be a fun night. And basically, it's going to be the Mike Graham Show live, effectively.
Well, you're in charge of picking the guests, but we've got my brother
Lewis
there who's
coming.
Fantastic.
We're also going to get Right Said Fred are coming along.
Is that the far right said Fred?
That's them, yeah, exactly right, as they are now, who are still doing lots and lots of good stuff. We've got also Stephen Barrett, the lawyer, the barrister,
oh, that'll be good.
Who we love with the long hair.
Floating, are we all going to get a wig and we'll all go in
there. Intel lady as well.
Yeah, I don't really know her.
Should we play... Should we play a bit of that? Have you still got that?
I'll find it, you talk.
If you can still find it, she does a brilliant impersonation of Angela Rayner. She also does
Angela Rayner.
She also does a great Rachel Reeves.
The big growler.
She does, thank you. There's a dark mark. Strike. Also, she does a fantastic newsagents, Emily Maitlis. And she's done, brilliant. And what I'm going to play you when we find it is her as Emily Maitlis interviewing Hannah Spencer, the new Green Party woman from Gorton and Denton, the one who won the by-election. Who's got, here it is, have a look at this.
He's a cracker.
So let's come back to the war that's broken out in Iran. And I would like to know, how would the Green Party navigate the war if they were in charge, if they were in government? How would they navigate this very volatile situation? I think if the Green Party were in government during time of war, I think Zach would be absolutely amazing at bringing all sides together and sitting them down and saying, right, first of all, let's do some basic breathing exercises. Like,
deep breathing through the nose and out through the mouth. And then afterwards, I think he'd say, like, let's dig deep into, like, internalized trauma that might have caused you to, like, take out 30, 40,000 of your own people. Like, where is that hurt in your life? Where is that trauma? And I think that would go down really well, because this is something, that Donald Trump is just not capable of doing. Like,
fantastic.
She's great.
Yeah,
so she's
very, very good.
She's very good. We've also got Amanda Devlin's coming on from The Sun, who's their showbiz girl, who does a lot of really interesting showbizy type stuff. And a couple of other people as well, I think.
Met Amanda before, you know, back in your old days. You know.
That's right, yeah. So she really wants to come, so she's coming. And a couple of other characters as well from the show that we would get on a regular basis. We might be getting Neil Oliver, we're not sure if we can get him out for Scotland for the day.
And he's another one of the mad here.
Yeah, he's another one, yeah.
But he likes spinning about the place, doesn't he?
He does, and that's why, you know, maybe I'll just keep growing my hair until May.
Surprise guests.
And some surprise guests. Well, we're going to announce them between now and then. We'll announce some of the other people that are going to come, but it's going to be a great night. It's going to be, you know, as I say, literally a sort of live version of
we're going to get some video clips out there, and you know,
it'll be like a live show,
and start pushing it. The ticket sales have started to go up.
Mr. Fizz is coming, because we're going to Mr. Fizz, who's Chris Walkie, our man with the champagne corks.
Oh, he's coming.
He's coming. He's going to be supplying. He's going to be supplying.
Well, he's coming in shortly.
He'll obviously be there. He'll be supplying us with the lubrication for the evening.
I hope so.
Which will be very good. And he's
Will I
promising
bring
us,
the Buckfast or the Harush?
He's promising us a big bottle of something. Like a magnum of something, or maybe even bigger, maybe a Jeroboam.
The Jeroboam was about that.
You know, and young Oliver will be out there with his braces, you know, opening it all. So we're going to be filming that here actually in about 2 hours. We're also going to do Plank of the Week today as well. Again, it's going to be difficult not to give it to Starmer, isn't it? But we'll have to see whether we can do something
it's going
else.
to be a great night. It's going to be fantastic.
It will be a great night, yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
So get your tickets now, folks.
Oh, I've got a message here. Can you wish my husband Ian a happy 15th anniversary? He watches your show every day and will be so pleased. Many thanks, says Colette. I've also had a message here from the mother of my children who says that she's going to ban me from Sussex if I get my hair cut live on the air.
Oh, right.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it? Why, you know, why?
Well,
what's wrong with these women?
Listen, if you want to get your hair cut, that's entirely up to you.
Best show ever,
and
don't
I think
be a
you
plank.
should do it, and you know, and if they don't want to ever watch you again, then so be it.
Well, this is not about her watching me, she's about me never seeing her again.
Message for you.
Oh yeah? Where? Oh, Mike, are you a believer in Jesus Christ? Yes.
He had long hair.
Yeah, he had long hair as well. He won't be at the show though. It's getting near Easter.
That's across the bear. I mean,
seriously.
Yeah, almost nailed that one.
You did. How about this? You looking at us? We hope so, because we wanted to say thank you. That's nice. This is from Cindy. Oh, this is Cindy Smith. This is maybe the card she was talking about. Dear Mike, I never miss a show except when I was sick. No presenter has ever captured my attention as you have. You open my mind, you make me think and crack me up. You keep me always interested and very inspired. I adore you to the moon and back.
She went to work 10 minutes ago. She did.
No. P.S. My husband loves your show now too. All the best, Cindy Smith. And she also says... she's given her address here, I think, which I don't want to read out. Pigeon, Michigan is where she lives. That's a great place, isn't it? Pigeon, Michigan.
Look at this one. Oh. Thank you very much. You're not, that's going in the pocket.
No, I'm sorry. That'll go to charity, that.
That's £50 note there. Fantastic. But I'll let you read. It's from, oh, I don't know who it's from. Doesn't it say?
It must say.
Oh, there's a card there.
It must say.
It all came in one envelope.
Right.
Yeah.
We're printing our own now.
We're printing our own money now, yeah. That's great. £50 note. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, here's the card. This came in. Really enjoy your show, Mike, along with your... Is that the same one then, or not?
Yeah.
Well, it says...
it came out of this.
Okay, hang on. A Catholic mother. Let's see if it says in here. This is nice. Hang on. And it says, the God of love and peace be with you. A mass for your intentions. From a Catholic mother, yeah. So she calls herself a Catholic mother, so she sent the 50. Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you.
Great.
she basically said, I listen carefully to you and the opinions given by your guests. I also listen to some other channels offering political commentary. She said, I came rather late to your Morning Glory show on Talk TV. However, like many others, I was concerned when you were accused of putting a racist post on Facebook. I did not accept the allegation against you. The state can wield great power, as I know from personal experience. Absolutely right.
Well, that's you getting paid this week, Push.
Yeah, we can afford to make Edward Hughes lips move now. You know, so it's all welcome. It's all good. Anyway, listen,
here's
we've got to
another
go.
envelope within an envelope.
According to the international clock, which is that one there, it's now 9:33. Could you ask Dan the hairdresser to bring? Oh, is that an old one?
Yeah, there we go.
I don't think I read it out though.
Yeah, Dan to
bring a couple of batteries for the non-working clock. Well, maybe. We don't want to keep batteries here because you saw what happened in Glasgow, right? So we don't want any fires unnecessarily that won't go out. Anyway, listen, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Donald McLeod for coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you to all the other guests that were here today. Thank you to Pooch, of course. Thank you to Charlotte for setting it all up. Thank you to you, of course, for watching and listening and for sending in all of your wonderful gifts and also all of your great messages and great chats and all the rest of it. We'll be back tomorrow from 7 a.m. We are today going to film Plank of the Week, which will go out tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And then also Plonk of the Week, which will go out tomorrow, Saturday night at 7 p.m. So lots and lots of stuff to keep you entertained and keep you busy over the course of the next couple of days. And thank you to all of you. And just remember, no matter how much of it there is out there, do not be a plank.